Oh, it's about to get hot, even hotter than it currently is, and a scorched earth on the outside, us gamers on the inside are ready to take it upon ELC's grand final here today between Valour Esports and Turks. It's gonna be me, Buffalo Bob, joining you alongside the one, the only Amguns. How are we doing?
We're doing good, man. The weather's a bit better than it was
Oh yeah.
yesterday, but we've got one hell of a matchup for you guys today, man. We've got Turks versus Valour Esports. These are two of the T2 heavyweights battling it out in the
Yeah.
ELC Summer Cup, and I cannot wait to get this best of three grand final underway with you, Puffo. Literally cannot wait for all the action. This is the day people have been waiting for. We've got to give the boys what they want. So just to give you an update, I'll just give you guys the logos as well of these two teams. This is the matchup we've got for you today. Valour Esports versus the Turks. So let's take a look at the map veto, Puffo Bob, before we get into this game. And the maps are going to be as follows. So let's get them up on the screen. Starting off with Lair, Puffo. What are we thinking?
I'm loving it. You know what? Yesterday we got to see it in its full raw potential, and that's where Valour Esports really show their potential. And I'm happy. I love Layer, and I'm hoping that today it's going to be the same. I wouldn't necessarily call it a bad fest, but in general, let's call it a firework dance, if that works.
Yeah, Lair is a spicy map. Spicy map we've got to start things off. It is going to be Turks' map pick to kick things off on Lair. You good there, Puffo?
Absolutely, I had to hop in for a second. Need to make sure my door is locked, so there's going to be no intruders.
No
but
problem. But yeah, it's a very 50-50 map as well. We got to see it played
Yes.
yesterday as well, which is really good stuff. It's great fun to watch. It's a great test of the strategy of the teams. I feel like that theme, Puffer, applies to all of the maps we have in this pool today. Starting off with Lair, which you either love it or you hate it. I feel like Sky is in a very similar camp. And then moving on to Cons, which I feel like this is the exact veto. We saw a very similar veto to this yesterday.
we saw
if I'm not
layer
mistaken.
cons in Clubhouse in the best of three.
It's crazy stuff, right?
Really close.
Very, very similar lineup coming into what we saw yesterday, but especially Sky. We saw yesterday in the third quarter final how strong Team Valour can be on Skyscraper, and obviously being their map pick. I'm surprised the Turks have let that go through, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not too sure what the picks here from the side of Turks were. While we did see Turks on the side of Border do a fantastic job, Valour Esports, I mean, they played it well on Layer. They played it even better on Consulate, and I don't know. I feel like Turks are giving them a bit of an easy one here.
Yeah, it's if we go all, I want to see a map 3 today. Obviously, in neither of the semi-final, I'm not sure about the Turks semi-final, but in the semi-final we watched, we didn't get to see a map 3. Valour Esports are very much in the flow, in full effect, and they sped run their semi-final in a 2-0 fashion. So I'm really hoping the games today are a lot closer. Both of these teams being an established T2 roster, I'm really hoping we see, like, I want to see some 5-5, 6-6, 7-5,
Yeah.
possibly 8-7 games, because it just makes it way more exciting to watch, especially on a map like Skyscraper. Anything can happen when that half switches. Even if you just get a 5-1 split on your attack, you're down 5-1, you can very easily turn it around due to the nature of that map.
That is true. And that similarly applies to the decider if we manage to get to it. Which, I mean, it is the grand finals. Like you said, this is going to be the Clash of Titans. Valour Esports, we saw them. They are fantastic. They did a really good job yesterday. And for the side of Turks, we didn't even see them in their full potential. We just saw a bit of a glimpse in that quarterfinal, and then they continued on reigning absolute dominance. So, if it comes down to Consulate, just like Skyscraper, you can really heavily turn it around if you're going to be playing on that defensive. Although, for whoever is going to be starting on defense, there's a bit of a quota they need to reach when it comes to their own half, because you don't want to be going into the attacking side with a 2-4, like a 3-3.
Yeah, you need to make sure you're setting yourself
Yeah.
up for success. But we spoke about it yesterday as well. We are going to be seeing a Consulate coming in. I think this is probably my favourite map out of the three that we've
Same.
got today. I think it's great fun to see how teams approach Consulate. I think there's a lot of problems inherent with the map. I feel like all three of these maps play very, very similarly. And I think you either love this style of map or you hate it. Because compared to what we've seen the Turks love to play, which can be those chalets, those borders, it's a very different style, I think, to say the least, Buffo, on these maps.
Yeah, no, for the side of, I feel like Turks are going to be really strong on Skyscraper. I feel like they're really good at being direct, at being horizontal, right? For the side of Layer, it's a mix. There's everything, and same goes for Consulate, although we see a lot more verticality on Consulate, which is where I feel like Valor might have a bit of an upper hand. But yet again, it's hard to decide or call any shots between these two teams because we haven't seen them face off between each other in more recent times, and that's why we're here for the grand final, to actually get that result. Who will win, Valor Esports or Turks? Which, I mean, through the entirety of ELC, I think we can both agree that they've been doing a fantastic job.
They have indeed. Obviously, they deserve to be here. They fought long and hard to get their place in this final, and both teams should be extremely proud of themselves. Before we get into this game, let's take a look at the lineup of both of these teams as well. So starting off with, I believe it'll be the Turks.
Let's hope so.
I was going to say, I really want to show the lineup, but there we go, we're good. So yeah, starting off with the Turks. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Turks. Obviously, Bodov being the captain. This roster, the thing I want to highlight about it is these guys have just been together for so long. This is a virtually unchanged roster from what we've seen before. But I'm going to quickly touch upon the lineup for Valour as well, and it seems like our game is underway. So let's quickly touch upon that lineup, and then we'll go straight into the game.
Absolutely. I mean, Valour, here we come, because Turks are in your way.
Yeah, so Cry's leading the team. He's the analyst for this roster, but we are good to get this game going under Lair. So let's jump straight into it and get this game underway, Puffo.
Let's get it underway. It's going to be Lair. Now, do not mind any of the names and such of sites. This is going to be a bit more of that French action, but that's nothing for you to mind. Listen to our voices. We're going into round number 1, Turks versus Valour Esports in the grand final. Map 1. It does seem like we're going to be having a quick rehost, so to settle back on it, Amguns. Now we can
Send it back to us. No, we're all good. Sometimes the game just doesn't want to cooperate with us, so it's all good. So we can actually go back and take a proper look at the lineup for the side of Team Valour, just to make sure that things are all good on that side as well. So we got to see this roster play yesterday. Rexy's, Vicent, Pangoro, Cries, Himsi, Nono, and Frame. Those are going to be your players on the side of Team Valour that are going to be kicking things off for us. Obviously, their best map being Skyscraper. We got to see that yesterday. When they were playing up against Maid Kings. I think that was the quarter-final game we got to watch in that best of 1. So we'll have to. I'm really curious to see, Puffer Bob, how the Turks want to deal with Skyscraper. I think that's going to be the big contestation map, because obviously Valour Esports have just been so good on that map.
Honestly, if I'm going into this, I'm looking at Valour Esports as a bit of an underdog, I'll be completely honest, because Turks, look, as much as we didn't get to have a glimpse, or more than a glimpse of them in that one match we got to witness, it's because they're so decent. Valour Esports, they had a bit of a run with number 1 they were facing in the semifinals. We were also streaming here if you were able to catch it, and even though they weren't as dominant, we got to see a bit more of them. Yet again, Valour are strong, but they have their mistakes. From the side of Turks, I wasn't able to catch on to any, I'll be honest. Turks are really strong, and you can see them all across the side of T3, T2 in general, even through qualifiers like Combine.
Yeah, they've been absolutely cooking. They've got so much experience in their roster.
Yeah.
But Valour Esports, they are, I think, equally matched to take on this matchup, right? Like, because they've got a fair amount of experience themselves. The org has been around for a long, long time as well. Obviously, having that analyst on Cries, one of ELC's very own, helping this team be, as best as they can be. Both of these teams just being such established sides, this should just be an unreal matchup. But the first map we got coming up, Lair, I haven't seen the Turks cook on Lair yet. I'm hoping they've got a few aces up their sleeve. They've got a few strats that they're ready for. They tend to favour a very aggressive style of play. They're very effective at doubling up with each other as well, Puffo. So I feel like that's going to provide quite a unique challenge for Valour Esports to deal with, because the synergy between the Turks is so good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you said, I feel like Lair is really good. We even saw it a bit from the side of number 1, where I think it was Wiz was one of those players being on the Maverick, was fantastic at cutting off certain people from certain angles because of how Lair is really structured in a sort of way. You have a lot of these windows, a lot of entries, but none of them are necessarily solid. So it's similar to, it's like you said at Amguns, it's similar to Oregon main breach. As much as you can get that main breach, there isn't a specific one-dimensional push that's good enough for you to actually come through. You always need need to incorporate more and more and more, which Turks are really good at doing. And while you talked about it, we haven't seen them cook yet, but I'm already smelling the barbecue.
Yeah, and one thing I really want to see, hopefully both of these teams do well, is just get the initial steps on their attack the way they should be. There's a lot of times that some of the early points of the round just don't go the way you want because you failed those baby steps, but we are good to go this time. Let's get this game underway and head straight into all the action.
All right. Took us a moment. Enough yapping in the caster cams. You have been blessed with our faces for way too long now. And time has reached its final point, as now we're going to be heading on to Lair. And with the bans, Amguns, what can we expect?
And I'm not surprised at all. On maps like Lair, where it's crucial to get the breaches open, we're seeing the Thermite coming out for the attacking ban from Valour and the Cade ban coming out from the Turks. We've seen, especially from Valour Esports, they love to ban that hard breach to make it as difficult as possible for their opponents just to get things open. We saw, especially on the Lair game yesterday, how effective that strategy can be, and the Turks are having none of it. So getting rid of the Cade to make sure they can get things open.
Get rid of the Cade, make sure things are going to be a bit more slight to open, and I'm not going to be too surprised when I see that Clash is instantly going to be one of those picked off operators. Can work well, long alleyways, that's where she thrives. And alongside will be the Deimos, which is probably best at hunting certain operators down, which is where I feel like Lair has a bit of that touch of Nighthaven Labs. It's a large map, you can roam around it, and if the defenders are going to be on that bottom floor, the Vigil, Oryx, whatever operator ends up doing the role, can have a really vast roam around, which of course the Deimos easily counters, and I don't think Valour want to have issues with him.
Yeah, that's completely true what you said. And one of the things I'm really excited to see is how the Clash ban takes effect into this game. We saw Valour Esports use a little bit of it yesterday, and I feel like they were banking on that operator being open just a little bit more to create some carnage, but obviously not being available. I think the Deimos ban is huge as well, obviously this being his map. Him going below and using that vertical gameplay can be extremely strong, so that's not going to be an option available for the Turks either.
Going into it, let's take a look at these lineups for just a moment. Now, we get to see Framework on the castle, which I feel like is going to be one of those really important operators for all maps. I think it's just a jack of all trades, right? It's not going to be an operator that we can completely rely on, but at the same time, you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with him indeed, as it's going to be the Turks kicking off this attack. I love the lineup they've brought. There's two operators I want to highlight here, Puffo, and that's the Grim and the Capital. There's just so much utility on these operators, and that's one of the key things, just lets you be aggressive.
I should be aggressive, and Theezer is one of those players you really want to be having a keen eye out for. Although an operator close by and Theezer doesn't spot him, this could be an opening as easy as it gets from Valour Esports. MC is already starting to feel the jiggle right around it. Just try to loop for it. Now the drone, does it do a 180? No, it certainly does not. Now Humsey has two options here, approach or stay. Makes a bit of a footstep. Does it get noticed? I think just not. Does look to tend back. But currently, Valour Esports are being as cautious as they can about it to not let go of the opportunity, while the side of Turks are going to be catching Humsey with his back turned to his enemies.
Nice, that's brilliant play coming in from the Turks. This is the kind of drone work you want to see. In the games we saw yesterday, it was a kind of like a one-man army going in below, kind of trying to do everything alone. The Turks have invested time, drones, and utility into getting that opening pick.
Ooh, cutting it mighty close there. Rexy's almost a loss of life in a moment. Need there, make sure those castles are going to be gone to allow you easier rotation. Not going to be successful explosion, which might be a bit of a stallage for just a moment. Currently, no, you need to make sure that your life is intact. Although for the side of Framework, he's fighting back. Turks lose another. That's Salim off the board quite quickly. Although time is ticking out for the attackers.
They need to problem solve getting one of these breaches open. They've sent the Ash below to try and get rid of these bandits because he's been tricking that wall, and they're just kind of stuck on this mezzanine area. Castle's going to keep swinging out here.
Keep on swinging. Try and find the shoulder. Any damage is going to be better than nothing. But Turks, you can't rely on peeks from Valour. They're playing it a lot more safe. Things are from below. We're going to find Notomeister with the breach now open. It's going to be allowing the attackers to advance a lot more further. They still have many angles to cover, but as long as they can get that plant down, it's going to be all golden.
And they finally got the breach open. This is where the Capital's really going to come into his own. He's used one of those firebolts to try and dislodge these defenders, but it's going to be a mad scramble towards the end of this as the smoke's going to keep shutting out the Turks. This is great defensive utility usage coming in from Valour Gaming just to burn the clock and get the sixth man on their side.
Oh, the song is going to be singing UMP45 there on the kill feed. These are falls for the first quarter to quickly follow up with, and Rexy's no mercy to be shown as the final one, Bodolf, a last victim, and the first round going for none other than Valour Esports.
Yeah, this is a great hold. I really like what I'm seeing from the Turks though. The initial and mid round was really, really good. I think there was just a couple of misplays of utility that slowed down the Turks, and that's why they haven't been able to get into the site itself. Bandit did a great job of wasting time. That then enables the smoke to use his ability and be able to waste even more time with that time waste. And the defense, that's the name of the game. Use the clock as your sixth man to make it as difficult as possible for the Turks. But a really good thing for the Turks, what's really promising for them, is their ability to problem solve. That's something we want to keep looking out for as this game develops.
Yeah, absolutely. On the attacking side, like you said, the problem solving was fantastic. I feel like there were certain aspects they didn't need to follow up with, especially when you're pushing up. If you want to hold the cutoff on rotation from the defenders on getting onto your back, that's fine. But when Turks started advancing upon it and trying to make it work, even though it wasn't part of the main initial strategy, it's something that can come back to bite you. Although we're going to be heading now downstairs with the side of Valour Esports, and I'm not necessarily seeing a dedicated roamer like the Oryx as we did earlier, but this is going to be a bit more trap-based.
Yeah, and I think the trap-based makes a lot of sense. Obviously, none of the shields being banned out in this game, and you can see Shoxel, he's hopping on the Monty to hopefully back down any of these roamers in case they are spread out across the map. And as you can see, very spread out from the side of Valour Esports. They've got people everywhere right now, and this is where you can kind of pinpoint your attack using that Monty. It seems like they want to go very direct, go straight to Warehouse to try and avoid this roam game being brought out by Valour Esports.
Warehouse has his ups and downs. It gives you a lot of ground and options as the attacker, but at the same time, the defenders can know where you're going to be coming from, and they don't need to necessarily cover a lot. As with the help of Shoxel, it's going to be easy to set up these air jabs, get yourself forward, and now it's down to problem solving yet again.
And the thing we saw yesterday is if you don't deal with the vertical gameplay, they can use that vert against you, as Himsey is going to do exactly that. He finds a pick from above down into Warehouse as Bodovsky's going to be the first to fall.
Shoxel going to look to challenge the almighty Capkin, but Framework comes in from the behind. Now, will we be able to finish it off? The Baji not going to be hitting its mark just yet, but these flashes will be what turns the tides. It's coming in quickly. There comes one, but Hemsey's still fighting back. Gets one, but now the second, although the damage has already been dealt.
Yeah, the entry just isn't quite there from the Turks, as I think they realized midway through their Warehouse push, they needed to go upstairs and do something about this vertical gameplay, but those guys upstairs were good and ready for those fights, and unfortunately for Shoxel, he just wasn't able to use that shield to great effect to be able to clear those positions up top.
No, sitting idly by. The drone is going to be bypassing him like earlier we saw with the Oryx. Turks maybe need to improve upon that. But as of the moment, still two players needing to clutch against three. I would say 1 player and a half, seeing Quarturn is currently HP. Salim is going to be finding a trade on to Pango, and these ones might be the haven off to a possible comeback as the final 2 attackers now in a stalemate looking to ease out their options.
They're going to need a little bit of a miracle here as there's a minute left on the clock. There's lots of time available for these guys to go in, but they're just going to walk into sight.
They're just going to walk into sight. Selim finds himself one, but Quarturner, it's all down to him. Turks, the teamwork that I was so hyped up about to see is now going to be falling down to him as they split up between the 2 in a half, and currently Rexy's challenged in a 1v1. The plant is still going to be a possibility here, but with no utility flashes to help yourself out, and information, that's going to be sticking for both of these final defender and attacker alike. The plant going down now, looking to approach it. Rexy's is playing the mind game, but Quarturner pros simply don't fake, and so he does. Will that be able to leave him down to dust as a single bullet? Deciding factor, same could be stuck for Quarturner if he's going to be able to hit that head, and with 20 seconds here, they both go for the swing, but Quarturner comes out on top, and Turks with their first round.
They've salvaged a round there, and this is just down to their sheer aggression. They've just walked in trying to find the trades, and it has worked out beautifully for them. This is the thing, the Turks' mechanics are just so good, they can pull these rounds out. It was a 3v2 advantage, but the problem with Valour in that round is they just didn't hold their crossfires. When that first engagement comes through, you need your 2 teammates to play off your contact, so that way there's no room for the side of the Turks to be able to pull the round back. They need to just be careful in their crossfires, so the Turks getting away with one there, as they should have really been punished for their poor opening play.
Yeah, poor opening play. I mean, allowing MC to get away with so much damage with help of Framework as well coming in as a bit of a late entrance to shut down that Monty was absolutely huge from Valour Esports because they also wasted time, right? And it was just a great effort from the defensive. As for the side of Turks, I mean, even at the very end stage, they were struggling with those last two players.
Yeah, and the fact they were on low HP as well. They've just done phenomenally well on that low HP to find the shots they need. And that's the thing. It's an FPS game at the end of the day. If you just shoot better when it comes to it, then you're going to have great success.
We're going to have great success. That's what it really comes down to. If you can tap those pixels, go on right ahead because you're truly going to be coming out on top. And as we head in round number 3, we already have a bit of an equalization. It doesn't seem like anyone's looking to further that distance upon a victory score, or rather a deficit of round counts. And at the moment, 1-1, we can take a look at it. Very similar lineup here from the side of Valour, although Turks are going to be doing quite the same.
Yes, they are indeed. They're going to be going for a very similar lineup. They're very happy with the way that round went. I think it's more of a, instead of a strategy problem, it was just an execution problem. So I think they're a very reasonable thing to do, to stick to the same lineup and to go for a very similar execute. However, I like the adjustment, starting with the mid floor this time around rather than going direct to warehouse. More attention being paid to this mid floor.
At the same time, it's going to have its ups and downs here. Turks are going to be early challenged, and Shoxol, prioritizing his pick, doesn't want Humsey to get away with the same crime baggage. You could even call it a robbery he did earlier. One tap's attempted by Theezer. Can't necessarily go on reliable gunfights on this range with the SMG-12, so rather looks to take a safe bet. But this is going to be mainly to protect that Monty, and a push-up here from Humsey is going to be completely changed it about, as Rexys also finds one in the midst of all this chaos. Shoxol keeps his life, but Turks still need to hunt him down, and it's not going to be heading in the best of directions, as Rexys claims another. Final 2 blocked out of sight, and well, for the defensive, they can simply back off.
And we spoke about how good the synergy is of the Turks. Valour Esports are showing that they're just as good as that with that synergy, as the Monty's going to die to the Capcan at the all things, as it's all left down to Salim in the 1v4.
Oh, goodness. The booby trap is finally coming into play. We get ourselves one for the bingo card, but one more to remain. And that's where Pango stepping up to take out Salim. Final nail in the coffin. And the lead is going to be transferred back to Valour, as now they have a choice.
And
which one of the sites will they go?
Is just the coordination from Valour Esports. They were good and ready. They had the crossfire set up. They were working really well together. It was between the Capcan and Rexys on the Azami, the dual Russian guns coming in to absolutely just repel the Turks. They were using one player as bait, and letting Rexys come in and just clean house. Is really good synergy coming out between Valour Esports to respond to what the Turks are doing.
Absolutely. Going over the last bans here in the first half, we're going to be seeing none other than the Ace and Azami. I feel like it's valid. Now, as much as we didn't see the Ace be a huge game changer, it definitely affected him. And of course, from the defensive, the only main priority here is to try and get rid of these main breachers and limit them as much as this possible. Also, having Turks have a difficult job as having to force out the Maverick, maybe Hibana, maybe the can openers, which are nearly not as effective as the Thermite and Ace. Although for the Azami, let's speak about it, Amguns.
Yeah, the Azami ban is crucial, right? Like, we've seen Rexy's cooking on it on the last round. The problem with the Azami is just how much utility she can absorb. She gets, I think it's 5 Kiba barriers at the moment. They were nerfed ever so slightly, that you can now try and destroy them a little bit more reliably by just shooting at them. DMRs especially being extremely effective at clearing those. But if you don't have those DMRs handy, you have to spend Flores drones or nades or just a lot of time in getting those cleared. And the Turks opting, we're just not going to bother with any of that. We just don't want to have to deal with the strongholds and the fortresses that Azami can create. And hopefully that will help them have more attacking success on there.
A shaper of the site. Azami going to be leaving the pool. And Humsey back on the Oryx can only spell bad news here, as Turks are going to be approaching his position very rapidly. As the windows broken apart, Humsey looking to disguise himself up as quickly. It depends on Turks. Yet again, they need to know they have to play it safely, because with how much Valour have been swinging at them in the previous few rounds, it has really been catastrophe. And right now, here it comes, but it was expected. A teaser there with the opening. First blood, and Turks are going to be taking it.
Yeah, Humsey trying to get a bit aggressive, trying to counter the play that he saw from the Turks last time around, but the Turks are no slouch. They're not going to just be walking in without the drones, as that's a great job from the Turks to punish that over-aggression coming in from Valour Esports, and this is where they really should be capitalizing on this 5v4 situation they've created for themselves.
5v4 going to be a great starter, but can we keep it up? Many questions to put up, and well, the answer here from Pango looking to make it, and Framework with a fantastic shot into Shock, so that's going to be a pixel angle. We need to see a Mosh check for, looking for a second as well. Framework is cutting in mighty close here. I would be scared if I were in Turk's shoes.
And just like that, one of the key operators they probably would have wanted available for their execute is going to be taken off the board. Shock still getting deleted off that little pixel angle, which is really unfortunate. But still, this is the beauty of doubling up with something like the Striker as well as the Capital. A lot of utility still available for this execute later on.
Yeah, that shot from the window is really going to be shutting down Framework for just a split moment. He needs to back off, but is going to be challenging, or rather, skipping his challenge off to another direction. Was very close to hitting one on spot. Bodov there has to be very careful because yet again, rocking those X-Kairos, you want to keep him for the main breach. Well, in the meanwhile, a bit of damage could be delivered at any moment. Up for that verticality, the Bandit is going to need to force trick it out. And can we get the charge on the moment? I think it might just be a bit too late of the moment as Nono Meister finds Score Turner. It's going to be the second rather, for the side of Valour Esports. And now with the breach open, Framework continues the job.
And unfortunately for the side of the Turks, as they've been setting up this execute, they've just been losing bodies left, right, and center.
They've been losing them. The flash is going to be coming out. A clear initiation that the aggression is ready to set in as Nodomeister is going to be losing his. Pango really close to possibly being out of the count currently as the shotgun unrelenting. Babe still on the count. 2 more to remain, and within 30 seconds, Turks either need to take out the smoke or find themselves a new entry.
Yeah, the mid phase, unfortunately, is killing the Turks at the moment.
It absolutely is. These are here trying to check for those ones because, you know, Valour, they might not have been the 2 most reliable when it comes down to crossfires, but Rexys can handle the job all on his own as Bodov on low HP in 10 seconds, not even double digits to work with, goes in for the plant, and the smoke won't be positioned in the best favor or manner. Does Valour Esports realize this? Yes, they do. Pango there comes in for the sweep. For a moment, it was getting scary, but they nicely clear the air.
Yeah, cutting it close towards the end there with the plant spot. But the key thing for the Turks, they've got 2 more rounds to try and get an even half. They need to be a little bit more decisive and just be careful about the aggression that Valour Esports are showing when they start applying the pressure to site. A lot of times, especially when the Turks play, when they get that initial control, they're really good at applying that chokehold onto the site. But Valour Esports, they're doing an even better job of finding these little avenues, these little opportunities to find kills in their favor, and that's been thinning the numbers out for the Turks. They just haven't had the manpower to be able to execute the way they want because Valour Esports are just picking and prodding here and there, taking bodies off the board as they're trying to get set up for these executes.
As they're trying to get it set in. Now, Valour Esports have reached themselves a good split in the first half. I imagine they want to continue going with such succession and go into the mid-floor. We are going to have to see a bit of an adaptation from the side of Turks. I'm loving to see Bodov actually pick up on the Sludge, an operator that wasn't used and isn't going to be used any further as now it's onto the Habana.
Sledge? Where do you see Sledge, Puffer Bob? I see a Capital to Habana.
No, it was Sludge for a moment. I'm not going to get gaslit.
No, you're all good. It was a Sledge. Switching back to the banner makes a lot of sense. Maybe they thought the hatches will be soft, but just seeing they get more value out of the banner. I think especially on a map like Leg, you need to have a Maverick or a banner in the lineup somewhere. Those are only being the only hard breach, like main characters of hard breaches left. With a lot more, I think, emphasis going for a vertical take here, coming in from the side of the Turks. They probably want to clear 3rd floor down to be able to deal with these roamers, which I think is really good adaptation coming in from the Turks.
Fantastic adaptation, but who's going to take the peak first? It's surprising that it's always Bodov trying to take early initiative and not Theezer, who definitely steps up to the task, but currently you do not want to be losing your Habana so quickly.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Bodov's just a gunner. The gunner he is with the Habana is just going to keep stepping forward as they've got the live pings on the castle here. There should be a freebie for the attack.
Yes, it should be, because the castle framework doesn't necessarily know where they might lie. These are a bit of early damage. Going to be a slap on the wrist for the beginning, although we cannot keep on taking shots like these with the anticipation that you might not lose your life. Currently completely X'd out. We do get Pango right now off the board very quickly. The Ella to fall off. Gersmot still remain, and so does Framework right around the corner as the sandwich is being set in. Saw the gun drop from Hatch. One more on left, but I don't think Theezer realizes it, but still needs to face check it for the moment. Time is starting to run out here, Turks. You've been wasted with a lot of it, and the defenders, Valour, have now backed up.
They're going to try and retake the top floor here, but Salim is ready for it as he takes down Rexy's on the retake. And I love the patience coming out from the Turks. They're not rushing to take this top floor. They're taking every step calculated, as Framework's going to get punished as well. And this is a beautiful execute onto the top floor for the Turks.
And absolutely every step they take, they feel to stumble. Turks are setting up a bit of a slippery slope for them going into this one. With 1 minute remaining, I feel like the attackers have really got themselves a fantastic blueprint. Now, without any C4, Hemsy's going to have to rely on his gun to take these upstairs challenges. And with the retake not necessarily going in the base to favor, it only depends on how well Valour managed to punish Turks for possibly not playing like a team. And Shoxel, speaking of which, already taken heavy damage, which could be fatal, followed on to Beldolf's case, and bringing it down to a 2v4 with Grim being excellent.
And there's a few players on the side of the Turks, low HP here. This is very winnable for the side of Valour. They're going to have to now rotate somebody else to the breach to look to get this kit down. So this is going to get very dicey with 30 seconds left on the clock.
It's going to get dicey, but we need to see the roll happen in the first place. And well, speaking of which, Hemsy's going to be already finding himself a second. The only kill that we have spotted from the side of Valour Esports, and looking to carry it over to the side of Nonomeister as he catches onto the planter. A second down as well. And Salim, what a throw. Turks were not able to cross that correctly, leaving it down to a 2v1 with one of the players, Theezer, low on HP, close to the side of Nono as well. He goes for pre-fires. Going to be Theezing Theezer. A bit ironic as the final shot comes in from Hemsy and Valour. However they managed to do it, it's Turks that should be ashamed.
Yeah, 2v5 for the boys of Valour as they steal that round away. The Turks seeming like they had everything under control to be able to get that kit down. But maybe they didn't have any vertical operators. No Ram, no Buck being brought out from the Turks. Only the breaching charges on operators like the Ash. Is that the downfall of that round? Did they not have the angles they needed to be able to hold the remaining Valour players in their spots to be able to get the kit down? They just didn't have the cover they needed to trade out the last two people. What a steal coming out from Valour Esports.
Look, I'm telling you, they should have kept the sledge. Now, as much as Turks aren't liking that hammer, they just got hammered in that round number 5, because what a robbery. Like you said it. I mean, how do we lose those? Like, I really love to see Turks play together, because that's all we saw on Border, right? This time around, it's like it never even happened.
Yeah, they just had to trade each other. You've got to play the trade game there. You can't let Himsy being the star of that last round. He just managed to find the ones, and if you're shooting, you're shooting, right? He's 6-4 right now. Absolutely just taking this game, putting it on his back. But Turks, again, I think with a 4-2 split, won't be too disappointed if they can claim this next round on the basement site.
Absolutely. This time they're going to be learning from their mistakes as well. As we can take a look at the lineup, Monty is going to be kept, which I definitely respect, but every single one of these rounds on the downstairs floor, the Monty has definitely had a real switch up of fate. Maybe Shoxel was able to pick up on that one kill earlier, but that's the only kill he necessarily has. As for the side of Bodolf, he actually brings a ram, so we're not going to be relying on soft breaches alone.
It seems like we are going to go for this direct warehouse take once again, and this hasn't worked out yet on the basement site, so I'm a little bit anxious to see how this is going to play out, because this is exactly what Valour Esports are going to be expecting, right? It's been the same take over and over, and it's been working for Valour, so they can probably be very comfortable with saying it's just another warehouse take, let's just set up the way we did before.
I'm loving to see the Tachanka pick. It's fantastic at denying. And of course, it may not be as good as the smoke, because the smoke canisters can be pulled out on the go. With Tachanka, if you have the right prep, if you have the shield and the support there behind you, you're going to be able to deal some damage. While speaking about damage, Shoxel is down to 1 HP. A single bullet and it's going to be over. Same goes for the side of Hemsy, who has been down, caught on the flank. Triple kill for Turks, and they're starting to turn things around. Now, hopefully, we won't be seeing another 2v5 failure, as Theezer makes sure that's not going to be in the case of opportunities. Will we get to see a flawless pistol pulled out for the final with a nade chuck right behind him, and through the wall, Theezer finds the final. Turks with a second round just to make sure this half isn't complete disaster.
If you needed a round to get your confidence up there for your defensive half, that would be the round. Valour Esports looking to get aggressive, looking to counter the strategy that they've seen twice before. The difference was this time around, the Turks were trying to bait it almost. They were like, let's take this slow, let's wait for the aggression, let's let the attacks come to us. And Valour Esports have fed right into it. They've overswung straight into the guns that were waiting for them, and that's going to give Turks a very convincing second round. And this is where it's all going to be about how well can Valour attack to try and seize control of this game now.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's down to Turks currently, because, well, as much as you did just mention that it's down to Valour to seize it, because they have the opportunity, right? They're 2 rounds above. Maybe they can waste a bit and have a possible amount of testing. But what matters is that Turks right now, you win the next 2, you're down to equal. and then you start overtaking. It's their defensive. We've seen them work really well on the attack. A bit of gaps at moments, but those might not show as much because now we've had the time to adapt.
And the Turks have just said, you are not using shields. We are not having none of this funny business. No shields in this lobby, please, as the Monty and the Blitz being banned out. Interesting they've gone for the Monty and the Blitz first and left the Blackbeard. It's maybe interesting to see why they don't feel like Blackbeard as much of an issue as the Monty or the Blitz. Maybe trying to test to see if Valour Esports are going to play the Blackbeard. Not in the lineup currently, I think is a bit of a shame, considering how much of a demon that operator can be.
Absolutely. But at the same time, you have to consider, while you're going to be banning operators such as the Blitz and the Monty, right, there's also a trade-off with it. Yes, you don't get to shield. You don't go up against these shields that are quite annoying at times. The thing is, look at the lineup here. We're looking at Floors. We're looking at Brava, Capitao. These are all going to be powerhouses on the side of Valour. And trying to counter those, I don't know if it's a worthy trade-off.
The only thing that worries me just a little bit is there is a mute on the board. Unless we send somebody below, we're just not going to get these breaches open. Like, I think they maybe forgot to bring the EMPs on the Capitale, for example. But, like, if they go to get these breaches open, they might single-handedly just get countered by the mute on Shoxel here.
If that were to happen, it would be a real tragedy, and they would have to rely on going below or directly into site to get rid of them, which is as tedious as it gets. But let's see Turks. Let's see them put it into action. I'm loving that Theser is also going to be picking up the Azami, which is a phenomenal operator without a debate, and the Brava is going to slowly start coming into play. Turks have realized that they take out the drone, but the camera's still going to be hacked one way or another, halfway through the utility, but Valour Esports aren't as aggressive as I would expect them to be.
Yeah, and that's both Brava drones now gone and used. And look, this is the problem. They're struggling to get the Mez wall open. Azami's going to make the correct decision and fall off before this wall gets opened. But they've wasted close to a minute 20 just getting in operational control. And they've still got 2 more walls that they're going to need to try and get open before they can get anywhere near their execute.
It's going to be a difficult one, to say the least. And as much as information is going to be important for both these teams, currently Valour Esports need to get it together because this first loss is definitely not going to be going in a good direction. Turks catch one off guard. And it's going to be the floors of all operators as well, meaning Azami gets the keeper barriers. And a fantastic one tap from Theser there. A double elimination. Sways out for the third. Turks have completely turned the tables. We're talking about cookies. We're talking about flipping the pan. 4 against 2. Maybe HP isn't going to be the best, but what matters is the fact that, whoa, Valour still have the chance to bring it back. And the down here is not going to be indicating such as the shotgun for the final, the 12 gauge in your face. Turks will bring it back, and now only 1 round away from Valour Esports to score.
Oh, Theser, you naughty boy. You can't be hitting shots like that. But the problem is they just haven't been able to open anything. The problem is the thing that's allowing Theser just to frag out like this is they have to sit in these common angles because they can't open anything. They managed to get that Mez control because Azami gave it up as she should. She wasted the time she needed. Just like she wanted to achieve. But then the problem is, because they didn't bring those EMPs, they didn't manage to get the Bravo drone in to hack the jammers, they're just stuck on Mez. And that's what's let Shoxel have people be funneled into his shotgun. He found a 2k for himself. These are finding a lovely naughty one-tap onto a very common position. But when you can't get anything open, it's very obvious to which positions you're going to be holding, and that's what has allowed Shoxel and Theser to pop off like this, because it's made easy for them. Their strat of just bringing some wall denial has paid off brilliantly for them.
It paid off really brilliantly. And we can take a look at how different Turks like to play, because earlier when we saw the defense on the bottom floor from the side of Valour Esports, they were really prominent to go with the Tachanka. The Capcan is going to be kept on Bodolf, which I really heavily respect. Even though they banned the shields, a Capcan can be really diverse. Again, you don't have that thought in the back of your mind that in the next door there could be a Capcan trap and boom, your life is lost without even the side of Turks needing to take a gunfight. Although for the attacking, I'm loving the interpretation of Twitch, because especially when you see a Goyo, it's just a gold mine.
And the other thing with Bodolf hopping on the Capcan is he's not having a great game, right? He's 0-6 at the moment. He's not really been having that standout performance that we normally come to expect of him. So it's good to hop on an operator where you don't really have to shoot straight to be useful. You just put the Capcan traps in and around where you need to be, as Framework's going to kick things off for her and take the gunner of Theser off the board. But the main thing is that those Capcan traps, they're still littered around the map, so you can be useful without actually being useful.
Oh, Caesar is sent flying right back into the lobby. His blood splattered all across the walls, and currently the opening here for Valour. He was one of the only operators up here, and he could have stalled out for way more longer, even possibly challenged Nonomeister, which would have been a fantastic addition as we talk about it. Drones there. Nonomeister sets down hits for verticality, while Hemsey is going to be peeking at drone holes to bring down Shoxel to such low HP, and just to tease him out, the Twitch drone comes out, but it's destroyed, and yeah, not the best here.
Yeah, good drone hold is crazy. That's an angle I'm definitely going to be taking into my next ranked game when I next decide to play ranked. Crazy stuff. But Shoxel, obviously being on the Echo, as long as he can just stay alive, doesn't matter how much HP he's on, as long as he can use those drones and try and deny that plant, that's going to be the main thing that Shoxel will be looking to do as we move towards the end of the round.
Oh, Budov just gave away his position. He was committed for the flank, destroys the drone, and now it's become a realization. Although one of these players from the attacking side are completely cornered out. Comes out to the side of Core Turner and turns it around 4 against 4 now. Equal standard. One still roams up top, but Valour Esports, I don't think they realize how much they have to face yet again. Approaching the situation, Core Turner's ready for it. Goes for the shot, not just yet, but the second he's going to be spotting the change of color pixels ready to be initiated. And there comes the pre-fire. Just like that, the IQ is out of competition, and Turks are back on a lead.
And Core Turner, he was a sub for almost a year, but he's proven why he deserves a spot in this roster, as he's been absolutely cooking on this mid-floor. Valour Esports, I think, maybe only anticipating one roamer to be present on that mid-floor, and that's just not the case, as he's been cooking on that mid-floor.
He's been absolutely cooking it. Get the all, get the pan, get it ready. The smoke babe is going to be coming out, but the planter is still in sight. And Shoxel's Echo being such a game changer here because the Buck Pango has absolutely no clue where he lies. As Selim can slowly start taking his shots, and the first one will be Pango's direction. That's the diffuser as well. Fraymore keeping his steady on the gun. Hemsey going to support him out, and with that double, it seems like Turks are slowly starting to fall apart. One after another. 18 seconds. Time is going to be pressure, and Shoxel uses that against Hemsey's side. With only remaining down to 1, the HP can definitely back it up. But with the current time you have remaining, it's definitely not going to be there to support it. Tries to go for pre-fires. They're holding you at bay, and you are forced to go for this plant. Otherwise, Turks might already have closing down on you. Framework final attempts does get the pre-fire, spots out the player, but just simply not enough. And again, Turks, I feel like that was just too close for comfort.
A little bit here and there. I think it's actually okay for the Turks. They're a team that can be very composed under those stress situations. Although they lost a couple of bodies, they still had the smoke and the echo. Those are the two primary. I couldn't think of anybody better you would want in the last phase of the game. That echo drone, they got so much value out of it in towards the last portions of the map, because as soon as those attackers had to funnel into the site, they've got full information available to be able to just shoot straight, deny the plant and the smoke grenades just to make the attacker's life uncomfortable. So although it was very dicey towards the end, I think it was under control for the Turks. And just like you said, Puffo, they needed 2 rounds to tie up the score, and they've done exactly that. So this 4-4 split has made this game very exciting now.
I don't know what's stopping the side of Valour Esports from maybe overtaking them, because right now it's going to be a battle for the crown. Now, from the previous round, I didn't like Turks' opening. You know, we had people just swinging in randomly onto Framework, who has been shown time and time over that he's very consistent at being patient. Even towards the end of the game, he held down both of the flanks, he killed 2 of the players, and was the final one to remain. And as much as Turks necessarily don't take that into account, they still played it well. They got themselves the 4th, like mentioned, and now with an equalization, can they get the 5th? Can they reach match point before Valour get the grasp over it? It's down to them as we're heading onto a side we haven't seen from Turks.
Yeah, this is the first time we're going to be going to the mid-floor, but some people argue that this mid-floor is one of the best sites. Lair is one of those unique maps where I don't think any of the sites are actually that much worse than the other. This play is very similar to Piano Consulate, where the vert is king.
Absolutely. Now for me, I'm going to be necessarily even relaying it similar to Chalet. Like you said, it, no sites are bad. But here from the side of Framework, it seems like his plays are going to be on peak, as Pango is going to be the first to fall. Quickly followed up a fantastic refract from Framework to make sure that it's not going to be all for naught. Although Turks, on the other hand, are they going to get aggressive? Will they look to waste time or try to avenge Core Turner?
I was going to say, that's a nice little trade coming in to kick things off for us, as Valour Esports just picking up the pace, just starting to go walk straight in, starting to get aggressive and take this map control that's been offered to them by the Turks.
I'm not liking how quickly he lost Pango. Yet again, could have been a fantastic counter to those Goyo canisters, which will now remain thanks to Core Turner's own life. So he's protecting his gadgets, but the Dokkaebi calls will be revealing some of these positions. Rexys is getting ready for a swing. We've seen it from Turks, and as they're closing in these nades, they're popping out, gonna deny a bit of entry, although the long hold can still be initiated.
And look at the patience coming out from Valour. They understand this is the danger zone, but the Turks just winning their ones as the Mute's going to find his great escape as well. This is brilliant time waste coming out from the Turks.
This is really good. A C4 from below could be there denying a kill. No, just came out about, but not going to be able to deal the final blow. And like you said, these ones are going to be won very easily from the side of Turks. And can they get themselves a second? A bit of damage onto Rexy's a flash. They're not going to be finding any value. And currently Valour seem to be at a bit of a stalemate.
And this is where the Celine the Dream, with the shotgun in hand, just going to be holding on to those stairs towards the back of the map, trying to hold on to that lurk roll, as this is where the Turks can just chill out. But, oh no, Rex is going to find one through the floor, and it's 3v3 with a minute to go. Advantage still to the Turks, as they should be able to just patiently wait for this execute to come in.
Yeah, Bodov went in for that onside denial on the information we saw. Hacked by the Dokkaebi thanks to that kill upstairs. And in the meanwhile, verticality used against him. Theezer does similarly. They will be following a similar path here, as both of the final two players on the defense are going to be upstairs, and Rexy finds one. Can he find the second? Not necessarily, but that still remains that the attacking side definitely have a lot more control on hand. Drops on down, gets a bit of damage, unexpected to say the least. But Framework and Noto, they're still going to be a lot more than comfortable. One coming around just to plant to the very corner that Shoxo currently looks to contest. Framework has a lock onto him. The information is there, but he doesn't act accordingly to it. And just like that, Valour will not be allowing the side of Turks to overtake them on the score count.
Yeah, nice little 5-4 for Valour Esports there. And Valour Esports using the vert the Turks have made to their advantage. The Turks felt like they couldn't retreat back to the site because there was so much vert opened up onto the site itself. So all of the Turks pushed onto the north side of the map, unable to hold to the site and unable to retreat back to the site as well. When they did attempt to try and get a body back onto the site, they were punished by that vertical gameplay. And now that we do get our third bans, we will see the Blackbeard being banned out, even though he's not being brought by the side of Valour Esports.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a bit weird. Not a single time did Valour even bother bringing in a Blackbeard. It wasn't even considered for a 6th pick, and they end up banning him instead of an operator that was actually kind of drastic. Like, the Habana has been doing a fantastic job. They didn't even need to necessarily focus or rely on an Ace and Thermite. This time around, though, Valour will be bringing him onto the side of Pango, and also an operator that has been popping a lot, whose value I haven't seen come to fruition has been Glass.
Yeah, the Glass we saw him in one of the previous rounds, but didn't really get. No, we saw him today as well, I believe, on this top floor.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. We saw him today, but yesterday we saw a fantastic play on him from the side.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, we did indeed. Yeah. It's a little pocket operator that Valour love to bring. You're completely correct. As they're bringing a lot more hard breach this time around, switching off into the Ace, which makes a lot of sense. You just get a bigger hole for the same ranged hard breach, which is really good. The bigger the better is what they say, so that's always pretty good to see coming in from Framework. But they're choosing to lean into the Grim and Capital as well, just like the Turks did, which I think will really help them force and put pressure onto the defense, because that's something they really struggled with last time around on this top floor.
Look, I'm not necessarily one to call it out, and of course every Siege player has their day, but today is not the day for Bodov to be going 0-8 into the 10th round here. We need to see a bit more of a performance from him, and I would love to see it because of the rest of the players. Let's talk about the top players here. I mean, Framework on double digits, same goes for the side of Theezer, and while Turks have definitely been pulling their weight, I feel like they still have the opportunity to take it back, and even when within regulation, they need 3 rounds in a row. They've done 2 before, and now they just need to one-up it.
Yeah, the problem was last time around they struggled to get things open, but the Turks this time around opting to not bring that wall denial, choosing to impact trick the breach instead, which is a really cool adaptation I love to see coming in from the Turks. We've seen how effective that can be, but Rexy's, he's going to trade himself as Shoxel full sends it out of the window, getting a nice trade for himself, but that's going to now protect any of that bulletproof utility, which I think in this case is just one bulletproof camera.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's a good trade-off because the Warden wouldn't have necessarily brought much value. Yes, we do have 1 set of smokes on Nono, which would have been a great counter, but at the same time, at the very end game, I think Turks are going to be more relying on the smokes and Goyo alike. As of current, though, the time wastage hasn't necessarily been the best because Valour are making good progress.
But the problem is, all of these ace charges keep getting impact tricked. At least the one from the Mez side is going to be completely open and able to walk through it. But this is going to be extremely predictable for the Turks to be able to deal with. They have the smoke on the board, able to waste like 34 seconds if it comes to that. But the other problem is, how do they deal with these? We need to get the Capital's Fire in position here to remove this player. And they've done exactly that. That's brilliant stuff coming in from Valour Esports.
Oh, Caesar should not have jumped upon it, and Framework just keeps on pushing it to site. No one's checking that door, and what are we thinking? That's going to be one of the main entries and denial of the defensive, as now only 2 players remain. Yes, Salim can still maybe deny that plant, but with 1 minute remaining and 2 babes, it's going to be improbable. Definitely, maybe even impossible. Currently, the smokes from the Goyo coming out, or rather, my mistake, the Capitao with the fire as well, just denying absolutely everything. Going in for the plant, but he's going to be able to stick it. Joe, no, he doesn't. He actually doesn't stick it. The smoke takes his life before he can, and currently, Turks have just gotten themselves a saving grace.
And this is where it's going to become a 2v2 next time they try and get this plant down. The Glaz is going to try and cross his way and get this kit stuck, but this is Turks' chance. If they hit this plant, this is where they need to get aggressive and take the 2v2 while they have the chance, but Nono's going to stick it down. Pango's going to find his kill. It's all left down to Salim to try and clutch out the 1v3 plus plant situation.
Oh, Salim wishing they would have kept that Warden. He sees the legs on the right, Framework right in front of him, and it's that direct approach from Framework that always tends to work. The fact that he got that double swing in, and yet again, Theser's jump up on the table onto those Azamis. He had himself a really good spot. Yes, the Capitao was slowly starting to flush him out, but trying to jump while you know there's so many players right in front of you is just not the best idea.
Oh, they banned the mute. That's why they didn't bring the Walden out. I didn't check out the ban coming from Valour Esports, but the mute getting banned out means that's why they could get the breaches open. Really interesting that the Turks didn't want to substitute the mute with the bandit. They brought the Azami instead, maybe trying to rely on the impact trick. And I think if the second Azami, the second impact from the Azami hit its mark, that would have been a completely different round. So that just shows that the impact trick just not being as reliable as just bringing a bandit.
Yeah, I feel like a bandit would have been at least the bare minimum, because yet again, that breach is really going to be one of those major forces that allows the attackers to get that easy plan that's also quite covered, of course, with the help of smokes, which in the end, selling smoke did fantastic. They got themselves in that 3v2, but because they were so shut out and turned up into a complete wall, Valour Esports got themselves an easy second chance, put it right in the middle where it completely fits, and outnumbered the remaining Turks, as now they're going to be going on to match point. Turks have 2 choices, either lose, go on to map number 2, or bring it to overtime.
Yeah, that was a big round for Valour Esports to claim match point. The Turks really on the back foot now. And just like earlier, they need 2 rounds back to back to get themselves back even in this game and force an overtime. And the one I want to see from the Turks is just make it as difficult as possible as you can for Valour Esports. Don't give away any opening engagements that aren't in your favor. Just be disciplined in your plan, and just we've seen from the Turks before how well their strategy pays off for them. So just stick to what you're good at, stick to making it difficult, and hopefully claw your way back into this game.
Framework has been sticking to the Shabana as glue. Fantastic combination between the two, giving him onto a good gun. Make sure that he's also one of those players that sticks till the very end, which Framework has been consistent on doing. As for the rest currently, I'm liking the consistency on the Capitao. Yet again, the lineups from Valour have been really good. Turks, I feel like, are by the book. I feel like, again, all these operators that they currently have, you can't go wrong with, and we're just going to have to see how that complements them.
Another player I really want to highlight is Rexys. He's been phenomenal during this half. He's playing really well with his teammates to play off the info from his team as well. And just been finding the right plays when he needs to. But a great start for the side of the Turks as they take down Nono as Salim kicks things off for us on the smoke of all operators.
Even with the demos, not being able to confirm all those scans might be downbringing as right now. Your first player to be that Ram? No, that is a no-go currently. And with 5 players, Turks still are playing a bit aggressive. We saw Bodov trying to approach the early challenge as well. Maybe didn't get the second, but backing off and still finding value is more than enough.
Yeah, this vert they've got opened up onto Toxin. Oh, it seems like he knows that there's a player coming up to flank him, but making the right choice is going to be the smoke. Back in, back down to make sure that they don't give up a cheap kill. But Himsy's going to find Bodov. He continues to have just not a great game. Just can't get anything going at the moment, poor guy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite unfortunate, but we're going to have to stick with it as now the death mark has started to come around, and right beneath you, that's where we're going to see our possible victim, Salim here. It's definitely one of those players you want to get out of the match as early as you possibly can, but with him still sticking around, and we still have Core Turner on the top floor, it might be a bit dangerous from Valour.
The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is Valour Esports are about to knock on the door to the site itself. So Turner, if he's going to get that flank on, he needs to start it now, as he's going to get Deimos tracked as well. And this just might be the thing that Turks needed. They're going to spot this player out up top. They've got to make a decision. Do we go deal with this player up top, or do we just hit the site knowing it's a 3v4 on the site itself?
Now, Valour Esports could definitely hit the site here and completely take out Turks, leaving this final player, Core Turner, to be left upstairs. And I think that's going to be the plan, as we already see the plans going down. Pango with a kill onto Theezer, and a following one for the side of Pango, as he does get avenged onto the side of Core Turner. Coming in from the backlines, a fantastic shot from Selim, brings out the Blicky, and currently with this SMG-11 ready to absolutely rain hellfire. But time is ticking right now. They need to get that defuse, and 3 players from the side of Turks, they might have a bit of that gadget potential. Framework taking a lot of damage, even enough to take him out, as he burns out to the ground. Although this final player, Hemsey, has a perfect angle. He's holding the down pixel, doesn't expect Shoxel to be so close. And Turks now get themselves another round to get kept inside this map.
And bro, Selim is just the GOAT, man. This guy finding a triple on the retake. He found one earlier on the reverse vert to kick things off in the round for him. Then he finds 2 in the retake situation. He's just on fire right now. And you could say that although Boldov's not having a great game, the rest of the Turks are turning up to keep themselves in this game. And I really like the fact that Boldov's trying to do everything he can to be useful without dropping kills. He's bringing info ops, he's trying to waste time, he's still being helpful although he's not dropping frags. So hopefully for the second map or for the rest of this map, he can start to warm up into the game as the Turks, they find a round back. And now if they can secure this next top floor site, we will be sending it all the way into overtime.
I think it's viable. I think it's very viable, although I do want to fix upon some mistakes that they did in the previous time we saw them on this top floor. Turks, again, allowing Framework to get away with that triple at the very end was absolutely phenomenal for Valour Esports. On the side of Turks, we're going to take a look at their lineup, and I'm going to, yet again, I'm not necessarily seeing a bandit.
The adaptation they've made this time around is they brought the Jaeger. So what they've adjusted to do is they're going to try and give Theezer some fortifications, maybe around that desk area. Maybe they've actually stacked all of the... interesting choice. They've stacked the ADSs on the stairs. I was hoping they would stack it on the desk where Theezer was playing. That was what I thought the idea was. So that way when... Because you've got to remember, the Jaeger stops the Capital bolts now. So if they can place that Jaeger utility to reinforce the key anchor spots that denies Valour Esports the access into the site, then it can work out really, really well for them. The only difference is, though, Valour Esports are bringing double hard breach this time around. They're going to be able to open up the main breach and the wall from Mez, which might provide a unique challenge for the Turks to solve.
I think that's where Theezer is going to be stepping in, right? Earlier, the problem was Theezer got so easily flushed out because of the Capitals, and the Jaeger adaptation could also be to keep him a bit more alive, because he definitely denies the default plan going on to these breaches, and they've already opened it up quickly. Now, Bandit could have helped it out, but just to make sure that their operators are as fine as they can be, Turks need to bring out Theezer each and every single time they can, while in the meanwhile, Shoxel is going to be taking first blood. Rexy's is off the board, and that's your Bravo gone yet again. And
I think Shoxel's got Rexy's number. They've figured out he always comes to this window to apply this backside pressure. And Shoxel this time is going to be able to keep himself alive and find that pick. But the problem is they haven't stacked these ADSs where the Azami is playing. So I'm really hoping that Quaterna, from the position he's in, will be able to hold the crossfires and stop this plant going down. Because that Capital is going to be just as effective as it was last time on clearing this Azami from this power position.
Yeah, Shoxel here has the only opportunity to actually solidify and deny that plant. With the C4 as well will be quite decent, as losing Theezer is not going to be a good starting sign from the side of Noto Meister taking him out. The Thermite with early aggression, not to be foreseen, but at the same time, Turks now need to turn this themselves, as 4 against 4, low HP on Shoxel. It's getting a bit iffy, because keep in mind, this is going to be Valour's match point yet again. Bodov finds another one to Pango, as now they regain what they have lost.
And this is really good play between the Legion and the Jaeger. They found the guy backstabbing, they found that pick, but this is where the fire's going to start to come in, clear this mezzanine position. It's going to be all down to Selim in the site to get his smoke babes out to deny the entry into the site itself. As look how spread out the Turks are. There might just be a little opportunity here for Valour Esports to sneak their way into the site itself.
Verticality from the defenders is going to be phenomenal, and we get a bit of a trade between the side of Selim and Framework. It's definitely worth it, because you need to go for the trade game. This is not what we've been seeing from Turks in the past, but if in the recent moments we can keep it up over time is a possibility. Trying to check those heads. 2 players still on side, 1 going to be below, and Bodov is in the perfect position to find himself a down onto Nono as the final one. It's a lot of damage onto Hemsey, as now it's down to him to find these 2 ones that remain. He finds the headshot onto Shoxel, goes in, destroys the intel. In the meanwhile, going to be going for the plant. Legion, final one to challenge him, It doesn't necessarily have the best of spots. Smokes are going to be all around, and it's going to be an absolute mind game between these two. Switching over to sight, and MC needs to play it safe. But does he go for the fake? Does he hear boat off right around the corner? The low HP definitely won't be helping him. And a pre-fire there from the Legion, making sure that Turks will be securing themselves overtime and a second chance at Lair.
Oh, Bodov, the man, the myth, the legend, turning up when he needed to, finding the probably three most important kills his team ever needed. I love the fact they made an adaptation to hold the breach from below as well. Lovely stuff coming in from the Turks. We spoke about how problematic the breaches can be, but the Turks were 2 steps ahead. They had Bodov playing below, which serves 2 purposes. You can find the lurker, which was the Deimos. They countered him perfectly. And then that allows Bodov just to, calm as you like, play the vert onto the breach to take out the thermite as he goes for the plant. It got a little bit dicey as the site anchor goes down. I think that was the only misplay coming in from the Turks. They have the BP on that player. Just go hide somewhere else and force the 2v1 plant situation. But a great clutch coming out from Bodov as he wins out the 1v1 to send us into overtime. And this being Turks' map pick, they get to choose the defense for our overtime. And now they bring the bandit and they're hiding it, Puffo. Oh, I love this. They're actually cooking.
Oh, that is so great, Turks. Get yourself a friend like Bodov, because currently he brought him into overtime. And like you said, this band is going to be so good. He's even hiding. Look at the sneaky rat. Valour Esports are going to have no clue. They're bringing in the ace, which is going to be greatly countered. Now, they are switching over the thermite, which possibly could be indicating that they might have a new plan of sense. Again, verticality here matters a lot. They don't want the same to reappear as they did with the side of Bodov playing from downstairs. And the sense is definitely an interesting addition.
This is going to be a fascinating attack because we've got the Deimos and the Buck. So it seems like Valour Esports are putting a lot more emphasis on having that vertical control this time around. And then they can obviously now use that vertical control to counter Bodov, who's now going to be bandit tricking, which is phenomenal. So we've got, this is all going to come down to that fight for the first floor and how that affects the rest of the round. Framework is just going to send it as he's already making his way onto Mez to get aggressive.
Look at Framework, not a single KR in the world. Trying to one up against these are going to be your top two fraggers, and only one can come out on top. Framework with an amazing opening kill, coming out to also allow Valour Esports to overtake the side of operations, get themselves operational. Breach is open, everything is starting to get set up, and we haven't even passed the 1 minute mark.
Yeah, they had a drone right in front of Framework there as he just used that information just to get aggressive, as I'm pretty sure the Azami shot the drone but then immediately traded, which is great entry work from the side of Valour. But now the question is going to be, how do they deal with this electricity that's been placed onto the breach? That's going to be the main thing they need to deal with to get themselves towards the site.
I already have the answer for you. You can take a look below.
Oh, Shoxo!
Shoxo, what a shutdown! Framework, sit down! That's what he screamed. The MPX claims another victim. And for Theezer, for Framework, for Pango, they're all down 6 foot under. Turks have regained lead, and Court Turner doesn't want to take any second chances as they have more than enough value coming out of these gunfights.
They didn't send the Buck below. It's just really interesting. He was stacked up in inside of operation with the rest of his team. As Himsy's going to go down as well. And the bandit pick is working out to perfection. As Rexy's going to get traded on those mezzanine stairs. It's all down to Nono as the body spray comes out as well. The Turks, you have found the kills you needed as it's all down to Nono. But the DMR will one-shot 2 of the players left alive for the Turks.
Ding, 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 it's a jackpot. They went in for the gamble of aggression, and Turks came out with 777s. This is the lottery ticket you were waiting for, and Nono being the only one left, the true nature of Turks is starting to finally reveal itself. At the very beginning, I was scared. The amount of value Valour managed to gain just off of that one push from the side of Framework was completely tie-changing, but Shoxo coming out on top this time around. It's going to be allowing his team to completely convert it into 7-6, and now for the first time on Lair, we get to see Turks with match point of their own.
Yeah, you're just seeing the team play coming out for the Turks. We spoke about it earlier that like any of these players have the ability to show up when we need it. Obviously, Bodov not having a great game, turned up when he needed it. These are falling early, doesn't matter. The rest of the Turks getting to the spots they need to be, hitting some crazy shots to send themselves 7-6 up to the good. But now this is the hard part. We need a very clinical attack coming in on that top floor. Is it going to be the top floor?
I think so, yeah.
On the top floor to try and claim the game. But this is where Valour Esports, they're going to be doing everything in their power. They're sticking to the band that they've been bringing every round to keep these breaches closed. And this is where I'm really hoping the Turks can think back to the previous rounds and make the adjustments they need. But the same goes for Valour Esports. They've seen the Turks attack this top floor 3 different times. Will they be able to make the necessary adjustments to keep themselves in this game?
At certain moments, I felt like Turks were in the dark. I felt like they didn't necessarily have the teamwork. They weren't in the mood as much as Valour and some of these certain players. Like, Framework going 15-7 is unrelenting without a doubt. Although Turks have still brought it back, I love the teamwork. I love how they manage to be so cohesive between each other. They get the timing right, they execute it on spot, and their worst nightmare will now be used against Valour Esports, because as much as they hate those shields, they definitely love playing them.
Yeah, very interesting approach coming in from the Turks. It looks like they've completely switched up their approach, not bringing any... They've got the can openers as their hard breach, but compared to the previous takes that we saw on the Mez side where they were going operation, they're going for a completely different take this time around, maybe trying to throw a spanner in the works at the side of Valour Esports, and I'm all here for it, because Valour Esports probably thinking they've been going for these Mez takes over and over. That's what we need to get ready for, but it seems like it's a complete north side take coming in this time around for the side of the Turks.
Now, why this Blackbeard is so good on a map like Lair, you see these really long hallways, right? And normally, as any normal player without a shield, you'd be checking him, just constantly being cautious if you're going to get swung or you will need to swing in any way. But with the Blackbeard, you can simply sprint. You can overtake him in certain moments, and just like that, Valour won't have much of a respawn besides Humsey, which is going to be lurking downstairs. Speaking about lurking, Thezer gets up on 1. The flank is going to be coming out from the side of Humsey. He was patient, it paid off as Bodolf will quickly follow up after. A bug for a smoke, I think that's value for Turks.
Oh, 100%. And it makes sense why he's bringing the Oryx now, so he can fall back to sight up the hatches, which is really cool. But now all of that vertical gameplay being negated by the side of Valour Esports. So a lovely pick coming in there as he does spot this player out, but won't find the shots. But I think losing the buck, just look at the lineup from the Turks. There's so much more utility available on offer. I don't think they're going to miss out on the buck too much, as Pango on the smoke. He's going to be taken out as well. So lots of utility on both sides being taken out here.
I imagine Framework was starting to pray that he wasn't going to get met face-to-face with a Claymore, but currently the Turks are going to be going for a surprising backside. Not trying to go for that main breach on the side of Lair is quite surprising, because at normal times it seems a lot more plausible, but spotting out the No-No-Meister bandit, they're completely pushing and they already have side. They're going in for the default plant, and no one from the side of Valour to deny them of it. Currently damage waiting to be dropped, and Thezer is going to be finding the first one. Can a second follow for the side of Turks? This is definitely a way to close it out. Earlier they were facing match point for 2 rounds in a row. Now they're going to be the ones handing it down to Valour Esports, as in the 2v4 flushers are about. Utility still at an all-time high. Framework and No-No-Meister need to hold hand in hand as Framework finds one. That's going to be the UMP45 hitting for once, not for twice, because Shaxel has the final say. And Turks will be winning map number 1 of the grand finals. And what a performance!
Bro, the Turks, their strategy is just like next level. The way they've read into what they've been seeing for the last 3 rounds is phenomenal. They understand there's going to be a rotate into the server room, and then they can use that as an access point to get into the site itself. So they're going to have a great performance on Lair here to kick things off for us, as the Blackbeard has worked to perfection. They've understood that the crossfires aren't necessarily in place to stop that server push from coming in, and they have executed that to a T. So a great stuff from the side of the Turks, as their adaptation just happened to be just that little bit better when it came to those overtime rounds. But we've still got at least 1 more map to go here, Puffo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really important to state how much better Turks are at reading. Valour Esports, they have the guns. They are really confident, and I can feel it in them. But while Turks are reading books, Valour Esports are still stuck on comic strips, and that comparison was shown in these final few rounds. And I'm loving to see how this is going to be transferring over to the side of Skyscraper, where I feel like, yet again, Turks are a bit better at taking that horizontal fight. Although even on Lair, they prove that verticality can be their style of fit. But again, Valour Esports, now they're down to the ropes. This is a best of 3, meaning if they don't win Skyscraper, their grand final opportunity is gone.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal start for the Turks. But the problem is they need to go into Valour's map pick, right? Valour's map pick, they're probably going to have claimed defense on the OT side. But if Turks, which will be starting out on the defense themselves, if they can get off to like a 5-1, 6-0 potentially half, it's going to make it, they can really put the pressure on Valour on their own map, if that makes sense. Valour Esports, this is their map. We need to see them coming out swinging to build some momentum, because they are starting out on the weaker side. But both of these teams showing that they are so locked in for this final. So we had a great map to kick things off in our ELC Summer Cup Grand Final.
Absolutely. And I feel like that Valor should also try and take action upon the type of advantage they're given, right? Keep them in mind. They came into the second half with a 4-2, right? Turks won 2 rounds in a row. Valour Esports mirrored that and got themselves match points, with Turks still being 2 rounds behind with a 6-4, which Turks then backed up to win 4 rounds consecutively, which is phenomenal for them. But for Valour, I want to see them start being a bit more, I would say, consecutive, a bit more, layered, to say the least.
Yeah, the Valor, the difference was between... Well, I'm actually going to counter you there. We did see layers to their attacks. So I really want to highlight the clear they did on the Azami on the top floor. So we saw, I believe it was in the 5th round, to claim match point. There was really good synergy between the Hard Breach, the Capital, and all the players of Valor to focus Teaser and clear that position. That led to a really advantageous post-plant situation. So I think both of these teams showing massive amounts of promise in how well they can play, especially on their attack. I think that game just came down to just the Turks were just one step ahead. They knew that, we're not going to bring... I think it was a conscious decision, right? We were questioning, they haven't brought the wall denial. But then they made Vert to hold the breach. And then I think that's reinforced in the mind of Valour Esports. Okay, they don't bring any wall denial. We don't need to bring EMPs or go below. But then in the overtime where it counts, where it's do or die time, they hide the bandit, bring the vertical gameplay out. And I think it's not that Valour Esports don't have the layers. I think the Turks just have even more layers. It's like Shrek says. Layers like an onion, but yeah. The problem is Turks' onion is a lot bigger than the onion on the side of Valour.
We got huge onions, and Turks are clearly weighing in more. Yeah, I mean, Valour at the end, like you said, I feel like Valour at that final round we just witnessed, they really were not being able to adapt to the best. Because we saw it, I mean, they weren't able to even comprehend that Turks were already planting down in sight. And when that finally hit them, they were completely caught off guard. But let's leave Lair in the past. Amguns, we have ourselves a bit of Skyscraper, and what do you think about the map?
It's a map that we've seen how well Valour can play on it. That's the thing I really want to highlight, is that Valour Esports, especially on Skyscraper, I really like the strats they use, right? We've just complimented the Turks on how good their strategy was, especially on the defense. Valour is very capable of replicating that on Skyscraper, especially in and around the Dragon and Drum area. They do a really good job of stacking utility and playing as a team to roadblock their opponents right there and then, basically. So I will show you guys, if you're just joining us and you haven't been keeping up with all the action, I will show you guys the veto. So obviously we've just had Lair, which has been won 8-6 by the Turks. So going to Skyscraper, it's going to be... But I think it's all going to come down to how well the utility game is going to be dealt with from both sides.
Yeah, utility game here on the side of Skyscraper is extremely important because, yet again, there's a lot of these default spots or important, vital opportunities for shields, Azamis, Capkins. Everything has a bit more of that positioning buff, if you might, on a map like Skyscraper. I feel like just because of the mood, it kind of tends to fit in. And, well, we're going to have to see how it works out. But yet again, it's going to be counters. It's going to be a lot of adaptation. And this time I feel like Valour, they have slowly started leaning into knowing what Turks are capable of and are not capable of. Lair could have been a testing ground for both of these teams. But what matters right now for Valour is that they're down to the last wire. They lose this one, yet again, Consulate, we won't be seeing it. And I'd love to see Consulate. I feel like a perfect map between these two teams.
We'll have to wait and see if we go all the way to cons. As the thing is about Skyscraper, let us know in the chat. Are you Skyscraper fans or are you Skyscrapers, I ain't touching it with a 10-foot pole? Because a lot of teams, they just don't like how easy it is to stack up utility and how difficult it is to get through all of that utility that can be stacked up. Because generally speaking, it's that cross take that is the preferred method for pretty much all the sites. If you're going to be attacking Geisha, you need to start with the office side and work your way across. We do see black takes coming out here and there, but I feel like just the coordination you need for a map like Skyscraper is really difficult for a lot of teams to be able to handle.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not going to be something that Turks would like to handle, but seeing as they allowed Skyscraper to come through as one of those bans, according to, or at least connecting it down to not wanting to play Chalet, Clubhouse, and Nighthaven. Skyscraper, they have to be comfortable on. It's a map you just need to be comfortable on, because if you're not, you're going to completely lose composure. And as we speak of it, I think that Turks find that comfort on Skyscraper. As in for Valour, it's not a case if they might be able to, they need to. And well, we're going to have to see. Yet again, I haven't seen Turks on any map besides Border and Lair, which was the prior map. But for the side of Valour, I'm hoping they can come out on top of it. And, well, let's talk about the operators as well, Handguns. We talk about how important it is utility, and I think Azami is going to be one of those bans people will tend to look towards getting rid of. But I feel like shields might be another thing that Turks could possibly be instantly getting out of the competition.
Yeah, the interesting thing will be to see if Blackbeard gets banned out again. I think the Turks have made a very conscious decision that they don't want to allow any shield operators to make their way into the game. But especially for the defensive bans, Cade can be an extremely important one. Tabaro can be an extremely important one. We might even see the Bandit ban come out, depending on, because there's that single wall on the VIP side of things, which can be a massive problem to get open. There's any number of bans we might see. Yesterday we saw the Castle ban of all operators. We might see some out-of-pocket odd one coming in. We saw the Mute ban coming in from Valour in the game before. So Valour have shown they can come out with these like oddly specific bans to target the Turks.
Yeah, although I wouldn't consider Castle too out of the ordinary, considering Castle is, yet again, it's very strong and Valour can work their way around it. But if we do go to the previous map, I do believe they also banned Deimos.
Yes, Deimos ban came out as well, yes.
So yeah, I think that's going to be very valid. I feel like they're going to be aiming to allow themselves to be a bit more free on certain aspects. Like with the Deimos, they wanted to be a bit more open with the Oryx, and so he doesn't get constantly tracked down. So yeah, I think that's what we can expect from them going into Skyscraper.
Yeah, the Deimos ban, it's huge, right? The amount of information you get from one single operator, it's just, especially on a map like Skyscraper where the extensions are like almost crucial to your defense. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Deimos ban coming out again.
Yeah, a Deimos ban maybe. Also possibly if they really want to stick around to an Azami, they could get rid of Capitao even maybe. Even possibly Grim. We could be expecting Flores for all we know. Again, Valour Esports could have a lot of cards heading up their sleeve. And we're going to have to see them in motion because as players are slowly starting to get ready, I'm going to ask this, Amguns, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to ask also chat, do we think Valour has this? Do we think Valour can bring it onto Consulate?
I've been personally watching the Turks for a long, long time. Ethan Amby, my boy, your boy as well. We've been friends with him for a long time. I think my loyalties lie with the Turks here. I really want to see the Turks pull this out in 2 maps. That would be my preference, but to make it spicy, do we get all the way to cons? But the game is ready, Puffo, so let's jump straight into all the action.
Let's jump straight into the action. Skyscraper, here we come. We have arrived. Both these teams ready and set. Rolling schedule keeps on rolling. And to get the ball in that same spot, let's head off to the operator bans. And honestly, my toes are tingling to see what Valour are going to be getting out.
Yeah, so Valour Esports starting off on the attack. The Turks have chosen to defend first. So for me, these bans are all about what can Valour Esports do to make these attacks easier for themselves. They will be going with the Cade to start things off, and I think this makes a lot of sense. If that Cade is left alive, the Cade to Borrow combination can just shut you out completely. But for the Turks Buffer Bob, I think we're going to see very similar bans to what we had on left.
They really don't like the shields. Honestly,
no, they don't.
I can't blame them. I can't blame them. I feel like shields are just really annoying and icky to play against. Although, whoa, Turks, new people coming into this one. What did they pass down to the controller to a new player? The Thermite this time around, which isn't surprising. Thermite really fits, especially when you're going to be pushing this out of T, right? You want to have a hole that's large enough for you to peek and go in for a comfortable plant. Yeah,
and the Bandit ban coming out for Valour Esports, they seem very keen to be able to make sure they get these walls open. It's just the Mute being left alive now as the wall denial. This means just the basic EMPs should be enough to basically get anything they want open. So the question is going to be for the Turks, now that we know these walls are going to get opened, what can we bring to make sure that we can hold on to the site, we can hold on to our power positions, even though, like, anticipating that the breaches will get opened?
Yeah, it's going to get open one way or another, but you still want to force a bit of that a bit of that utility pickage by force onto the side of Valour, so they have to get something to make sure to counter out this mute, as mentioned. But currently, I feel like Valour are going to be a lot more comfortable going into this yet again. They necessarily aren't fully reliant on the shields, but either way, we saw Nonomeister for a second hover over that Blackbeard. Not necessarily a confirmation, but maybe could be spotted in the future.
Yeah, the Blackbeard not being brought out, and we've seen this lineup being brought before by Valour Esports. This is very reminiscent of a black take, as you can see them setting up towards this black side of the map. They want to get Rexy's in below, so that way he can work his way up. But Thieser, he's going to kick things off for us, as he's going to keep popping off. And that's going to be the side of Nono, the Glaz, the pocket pick being taken off the board very early.
Oh, and it's going to be so good because Turks don't necessarily have a Warden to counter it. Look at Framework also taking damage. The Smoke Babe there is going to be pushing back. He does have more than enough distance to work around it. And these just keeps on going for the swing time after time again. And finally, we have a trade. Rexy's from below, shoots down Bodolf as the opening kill for the attacking side.
Yeah, that's a nasty angle that Bodolf's just been found through. But this should be a freebie for Thieser. He does find the freebie indeed. It was a little bit dicey though, but will find the kill onto Rexy as he holds down, hunkers down this black position. But Himsy's going to find a trade elsewhere as people are dropping like flies at the moment.
Yeah, no, they're dropping like flies. This is an absolute chamber of death and destruction. And look at Shoxo. He wants to get in on the action as a single tap to Hemsy's head. We'll get Turks back on the lead. One's still going to be on backstairs. And in the meanwhile, Valour Esports, 2 players, one of them stuck outside the building. And these are trying to cheek his way into a kill. Not going to be confirmed, but can we secure the life of him?
And this is where the SAS brothers just getting aggressive together as they're both pinned into this situation. They need the Azami to be holding this top black player to make sure they can get this res. They could possibly get this res, as Shoxley might just choose to bait this. He's got to be really careful as the ace really wants to confirm this kill.
Yeah, no, I can't blame him, but that could be also resulting in a bit of a time wastage. Also, the type of aggression that Thieser started off here, the unfortunate chain of events, has been absolutely leading down to this bloodbath of a match we've currently been faced with, and also the diffuser is held in the side of Turks, so they can simply play it safe.
Yeah, they can just bunker down into this spot, hold the crossfire on top black, as Pangu just chilling on the rappel, really, just trying to find where he could be useful. But the thing is, the Valour Esports, they need to try and isolate one of these ones. They need to try and find, and that's an easy way to do it, as they just don't need the rappel, apparently. So just like that, they even it up to a 2v2.
A couple of bullets and Panko's already going to be getting them down to even count, or rather even better, because Valour Esports definitely rocks a bit more of that HP, and the Mew Jammers will be the greatest deficit of them attempting to get this breach. No more Selmas to pick up for yourself. Legion Gun your foot will be quite annoying, but with 30 seconds here, Turks are simply going to be waiting close on by SMG-11 packed and ready to take him out.
Yeah, they're going to walk head first into these SAS shotguns that they posted up back to back. Pangu, he seems to have a feeling, might know where this player is, will find the first, as they've just found a way to steal this round away. They don't have the diffuser though, it's still just tucked into these black stairs, which he's going to be holding with his life. Finds the first, but the trade is there from Framework as Valour Esports in a 2v4, or 2v3 it was, find a way to grab the round.
Oh, Thieser could have simply just stuck behind the table and there would have been no choice left but to go for the plant, which again, used that verticality to counter. In the end, Turks started off good. Their mid game was also quite decent, but at the very end stages, they dropped it down to the very ground. Valour Esports also, credit to Pango, able to absolutely shut them all down.
I'm not sure how he's not heard that person on rappel. They knew he was on rappel the whole time.
No.
So they really should have heard this guy rappelling up to the window, but fair play to him. As the Turks, they're going to opt not to repeat the site, and they are bringing a really heavy utility-based lineup to hold this site. They've brought the Clash with the Jaeger and the Wamai to reinforce the extension maybe towards that Dragon side. There's just a lot of utility that the Valour Esports are going to need to deal with here if they want to break through into the site itself.
If they want to have that breakthrough, it's going to be a story of its own. But look at Shock. So Turks like playing the shields, but they don't like playing against the shields. I think that's a statement that I'm going to keep on using for them. As for the side of Valour Esports, they spotted that while the Monty might be gone, Nonomeister actually gets the chance to pick up on the Blackbeard, which is also going to be giving them that opportunity to not get so easily picked out at the very beginning, because Nonomeister, keep in mind, he was the Glass that got basically spawn peeked by none other than Thieser.
Yeah, it's going to be some shield versus shield action here as we're getting prepped for the run out. They're going to put the Clash in this spot just to be a complete menace and just not let them get the breach. But if the attacking side do choose to push from the Geisha side of the map, clear through T-Room, they will be able to counter this play coming out from the Clash. But as Clash has not spotted anybody here, this should be a dead giveaway that Valour are going for a cross take towards that Geisha side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. It should have already been more than obvious. The clash is still going to remain there, but Valour Esports are taking their sweet and precious time. Grand in the meanwhile, these are going for a bit of shots. Does almost catch on to 3, spotted out a couple, but not being able to find that head tap will definitely be working against them as a trade we have between the side of Wamai and Dokkaebi. Value for value, to say the least, and the Blackbeard being an absolute nuisance as you necessarily can't shoot through that shield. But a C4, look at the side of Quarturner slowly approaching him. He does have a different angle to take care of, and a swing coming in as he finds the headshot. That's going to be Rex is taken out, goes in for the swing as well. Blackbeard's trying to keep himself alive, but Theezer finishes him off right on the spot, and with the help of Shoxel and Bonov alike, Turks have gotten themselves a fantastic grasp over round number 2.
What are you supposed to do when this man is just on fire? They rotated the clash over as well, but Theezer was like, I don't need you to help me. I'm just going to kill everybody on my own. But why are we swinging, Theezer? We really don't need to be peeking that. As Shoxel with the Frost right behind him, they should be able to just play this trade game. There should be no chance the framework can make this work, as all you got to do is play the clash, old school clash. Just sit right behind her, let her waste the time, as this is a really well played round coming in from Theezer himself.
Oh no, that's going to be an EMP coming in for value, but as long as Turks, these two final players can work together really nicely, it's going to be interesting. Now look at the clash. Shoxel pulled out the big guns for this one, but going to get burnt on the spot. Nicely backs off. Not the best position. Shoxel needs to hold it steady. Spots the clash is no longer there, and all comes down to this headshot, which Shoxel will be delivering. Framework was looking for it, but couldn't necessarily catch it.
Yeah, I'm surprised Shoxel actually put the shield down, planted it and swung off it himself. I would have just like let Frost swing off me, but that's a beautiful, but like the hero of that round is just Theezer. He just single-handedly shut down the whole push on his own, but you can see the strategy from the Turks paying off there. Their hard line is those doors into that highway area, and they've just locked it down and not let Valour Esports progress any further than that area. But the lack of hard breach might have a part to play in that. There was no Ace or Habana. We didn't even use the can openers on that gold wall to open up onto highway, and I think that's one of the things that the Valour Esports need to make an adjustment with. They need to just open things up a little bit more before they commit into their push.
Yeah, but what exactly are you going to be opening when Theezer's up in your face, taking absolute taps at your head?
I mean, the pre-fire flick off the door is just like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to be able to do when he's just on fire? But this is going to be back to the primary site, coming in for the side of the Turks, and a pretty much relatively unchanged lineup coming in for this top floor. I think the Turks, there was just a bit of a misplay to let Valour Esports back into the round, so they're going to be quite confident going back to this site.
Really confident. Didn't work out the first. Let's see what went wrong. Now, of course, Turks were able to pick up on a fantastic advantage when we saw them last, but I don't think they're going to be going in for necessarily low chance opportunities like we saw the early Theezer on that smoke gun for attempted spawn peaks, which were an attempt, but also in succession. Although this time around, I'm loving the extension, and I'm loving that Turks are actually relying a bit more on strategy.
Yeah, this is a really funky extension coming out from the Turks. Normally you see the office walls reinforced to make it difficult for your opponents to get into that area, as these are just being an absolute nuisance on this doorway. He needs to be careful he doesn't absorb a nade to the face, as it does seem like Valour Esports going for a much more direct take this time around compared to the round before.
Valour Esports, two of them going to be on the rappel, one really relying on the head holes made by Turks alone, and Theezer yet again, shotgun up close, looking to take fights. He's thrown hands in any moment he can, and not allowing a single entry through the door, at least not over his dead body, going for the swing. Nonomeister shuts him down, and thankfully Valour Esports anticipated it, because Theezer could have gotten away with another bloody murder.
Yeah, I think Theezer's really unlucky there to not find the Deimos. Last minute shots coming in from Nono to shut that down, but that's a lovely bait coming in from Valour. They understand that Theezer wants to get aggressive. He's very effective at playing this position as well, and really well played from the side of Valour to punish that aggression.
Yeah, backstairs already going to be contested, and we see that one of the players has made their way up. In the meanwhile, Salim trying to approach him down. We've seen this early on to Hemsey. He's adapted quite quickly. While Shoxel going for early advantage does not get the headshot though, which will be bringing him down and still allowing Turks with only 2 players on site, while Valour Esports are approaching it very, very fastly.
The problem that the Valour Esports provide, it's not a problem anymore as Shoxel makes his rotation maybe back up towards the site, is he's got this C4 from below. He can deny this plant when it does come in if Valour Esports get that far. It's also the crossfire between the Azami and the castle setup that's going to be the next problem to deal with.
The attacking side has more than enough information that they can simply push and get these smokes out, and there's not going to be much that Turks can do. They've lost these or the smoke very early on. The impact comes out, and that's going to be a Pokemon caught right on. Can we get the headshot here? Quartern is looking to play aggressive. He does get quickly denied of it, but the Deimos is holding it quick. Oh, with these head holes, he's not playing it necessarily correctly. Rexys has been holding them, but the C4 from below still denying the plant. Both off on that down, allowing Shoxel in that 1v2 opposition. Currently, although Valour, in the meanwhile, with this repel, could definitely be getting a lot of shrug, but look at Shoxel. He's not necessarily looking to delay it as much as he can, but get this self into a 2v2 position, although with a hold, goes in for the rappel, finds it, Pango with a kill of his own, finishing off Bodov the second he got onto his own 2 feet. And now in a 1v2, confirmed, done, and dusted. Shoxel gets the first shot, but the final player, Framework, is going to be going for that bottom floor, trying to play verticality, which is going to be more than granted with the death mark as well. Normally, you'd want this to be some sort of advantage, I'd call it, and the Deimos definitely uses it such as, although going for it, does he have the angle to shoot him down? Yes, he does. Framework there anticipated and shot him right on the attempt.
Yeah, really good work from the side of Framework there to use his ability for the close part. That's a proper Macy J tactics coming out there to make sure he can find that shot. But it got a little bit dicey for the side of Valour Esports. They did really well to get that opening engagement and carry that advantage through the round. The only problem was though, Shoxel, almost with a 4K clutch, had something to say about it, as that's going to be all 3 wall denial operators taken off the board for the Turks. The Deimos ban coming out as well. So the Turks this time opting not to ban out the shields, going for a little bit of a different tactic, which is really cool. And now that the mute's been taken off the board, I really want to see Turks maybe bring something like the Malusi, or just a little bit more information to be able to slow down Valour Esports when they do go for their push into the site itself, now that they can't keep things closed.
I'm liking Valour Esports. The fact that they're also doing a fantastic, considerable job on the attacking side. Now, Turks are going to need to turn it around quickly. Not only have they been shadowing their score from the side of Valour as well, but continuing this type of fashion onto Skyscraper, where you begin as a defender, is not the best of looks. Now, taking a look at the lineups, I'm loving that Shoxel, being one of the more aggressive players this time around, is going to be also picking up the Mozzie, because the information from Valour has been nothing but phenomenal, and they want to limit it as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, the name of the game, just like it was on Lair, is going to be vertical gameplay. It's a very common strategy to hold this top floor, just like as if you were holding this top floor site, so that way you can hold down onto the site itself. It seems like a little bit more of a very frag-heavy lineup coming in from the Turks. There's not so many operators that synergize well with each other. It might just be more of comfort options coming in for this top floor, but it's also a very sporadic lineup coming in from Valour Esports as well.
There comes the drones. Everyone's starting to find their comfort zone. Although Valour has definitely won a couple of battles here, the war still remains within these following 3 rounds. And to season it in, we're also seeing Hemsey back on the Ash.
Yeah, Hemsey's looking to make this little backstab play. He's got a lovely little pre-placed camera in on that sushi bar, so that way he can get aggressive. But Thesa, once again, he's going to tempt fate here as trying to get aggressive, but I think he's going to think better of it. Oh my god, the quick peeks is insane as he tags Gridlock down to that 1 HP, only because he's used a 3 armor, I think, staying alive there. As Thesa, I think you've done your damage. You don't need to keep swinging, but he's really keen to get the opening frag here.
He really is here. Even a bit of a nade, not going to be necessarily spotted on, and the damage here set a tone from the side of Framework, as he is only a single shot, a fart, a wind away from certain death. We're looking to find it yet again. Thieser just does not learn his lesson. Stop on swinging. At one point, you can do it an infinite amount of times, and at a certain moment, they're going to be laying down right below you, Framework, with a fantastic positioning to take out Thieser, and that's the perfect example of not learning your lesson.
Yeah, I think he should have just tucked himself into the corner, be the bait for the Legion. So a little bit of a misplay from Thieser, as I think he's now going to have learned his lesson. They are anticipating the aggression on this spot, but still a lovely little crossfire set up between the Mozzie and the Legion here to try and waste a bit more time on this top floor. The thing you can give Thieser credit for, though, is he's wasted 2 minutes single-handedly.
Yeah, but at the same time, that was not the only push that Valour Esports have been looking forward to. Although Shoxo will definitely be denying a certain part of it, that being Rexy's life, and also the Floors, who has utilized a lot of his drones, but verticality stereo is going to be a necessity. And losing Pango as early on, followed up with Brainwork, who gets the job done, and these final two players on the attacker side, being not only repelled, but outside bottom floor windows, will definitely be a downbringer of them. Trying to be the bearer of bad news here, Turks still have 4 players, and Hemsy's losing his life, bringing it down only to the one that remains to fight against that big count. Finishing the job, Salim has the spot. A single bullet gonna be more than enough, and Shoxel upstairs being an absolute menace with no one to stop him.
This is a masterclass from the Turks in showing how defender-sided Skyscraper can be. The Valour Esports just could not get in the building because Turks at every twist and turn were waiting for them with open arms. The thing I really wanted to see from Valour Esports is, why have we not sent anybody Geisha? Go get the Geisha wall open, sort of try and pinch onto this top floor. The only entry point seemingly being top black for the side of Valour Esports, so making it very easy for the Turks to just lock it down, as there just wasn't really any pressure applied anywhere else on that top floor.
And I'm just praying, I'm crossing my fingers right now that I don't see Theezer with a shotgun somehow still. He has picked up the Jaeger as well, but who knows, maybe he's going to be going for yet another swing on action in this round. Although earlier, when we saw the side exhibition, it was heavily favored thanks to Theezer's play. So, as much as the cut of ties has been done when it comes down to T-side, Theezer can definitely hold his own on here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how long the clash will last as well, because the clash is an attention grabber, right? The attackers necessarily can't deal with her on the spot, and it also brings a lot of stress because you're constantly just thinking, when is someone going to peek from behind her?
Exactly that, and this is an unchanged lineup coming in for the side of the Turks, as this strat worked out phenomenally for them last time around. But I love the adaptation Valour Esports are making. They're not bringing any hard breach outside of the can openers, which I don't think I agree with, to be honest. You can make it a lot more difficult to get the VIP wall open if you do want to apply more pressure to the site once you get past drum. But this time around, Valour Esports, they're just bringing everything. They're just going to throw the kitchen sink at the Turks to try and break their way through this dragon and drum area.
Moving forward, seems like Valour Esports here are going to be completely ignoring the main breach itself. Yet again, they can go for that VIP, but they're not going to be allowed so by Salim, who gets out with a kill onto Framework. Yet again, not having the same performance he did in the earlier map. Hopefully looking for a brighter future, but found in quick succession is going to be the Capitao, which could have been also a fantastic denial of the clash. And the only one currently necessarily being a counter would be Pango Zofia and maybe the Yink.
I feel like off the drone, Salim has just wallbanged this barricade and deleted Framework.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
The game sense coming out from this guy is unreal, as he sits pretty as the sub that's been on the bench. He's going to find one for himself as well. As the Turks, they can just sit on this utility. They're just over-peaking. Valour Esports not using the kitchen sink that they brought. They need to just start chucking stuff at this setup rather than peeking it one by one.
The droned out core turner, I think he realizes it certainly does, but it's going to be shutting down the rotation as Pango shuts down Theezer in the meanwhile, and it's going to be a tertiary objective, but they need to get themselves back on even odds, and currently Turks have been over-peaking, like you called it. Salim earlier, we also spotted it out from her. Core turner being a bit not as cautious as I would want him to be, just running around trying to gun down people, which definitely is commendable. But at the same time, if you're going to be lost, it's going to slowly start getting critical for Turks.
Yeah, they have nothing to deal with the shield. They're just like staring off against the shield, but they're getting picked off left, right, and center. Those hard breach gadgets, getting this wall open, which is really good stuff. And this back pressure is what they needed. So Valour Esports doing well in a man disadvantage to even it up. But this is where, with a minute left, the last remaining players of the Turks, they just need to hold strong, play together, and they should be able to seal out the side of Valour Esports. But these Yinkendellas are about to give a nice, warm, fuzzy surprise for the Wamai.
Oh, as much as he was wanting that Wamai to work in his favor for against smokes and flashes alike, it's the Candelas that are going to be setting off. And a bit of damage, Pango finally falls. It's going to be shut down and reduced to atoms, as another one, similarly to follow in his footsteps, will be Selim, who's now 6 foot under. Calls are ready to be made. MC doesn't necessarily have the ability, but can go for the hacks, although a bit too late in my opinion. And just waiting for the first player out of these 4 to be lit up like a Christmas tree. The headshot not going to be utilized. And you have to keep in mind, if Bodolf falls here, Shoxel won't be of much utilization because his gun definitely isn't the best. And although he still puts it to work one way or another for the second as well, and no one able to step up to this clash with a shield or a nod, this is the one you want to rely on.
Yeah, it got a little bit dicey for the Turks. They overextended just a little bit, but they still managed to win the round. The thing I would like to see from the Turks is just settle down a little bit. You've done the hard work, you've found the entry kills, you just don't need to get as aggressive. I think especially on the side of Turner there, just a little bit maybe unsettled in where he actually needed to play, and that's why he got picked off. But the Turks, they get it over the line, and I think with how defender-sided Skyscraper is, the Turks need this next round. I think a 4-2 split is very reasonable for the Turks. If Valour Esports somehow get a 3-3 split, I think they'll be very, very happy with their attacking half, considering how defender-sided this map is.
But they've been having some trouble here. I feel like compared to Exhibition, Turks have been doing a lot better there than they have found a spotting onto the side of T and Karaoke. Mostly because of how well they're performing. Mostly because, yet again, I see Theezer on the shotgun and Amguns. Please not again.
I mean, he's been wasting so much time on this doorway, but I'd like to see him just stay alive. Especially on this site in particular, it's been the black stairs that have been the power position rather than tucked into the doorway itself. But somehow he's finding like loads of damage off these swings. So if he's feeling it, if he thinks he can keep getting these entry picks, then all credit to him. But Valour Esports, they've dialed it in that like he loves swinging this doorway. So if we see a 4v5 advantage to Valour Esports because of that reason, then I'll be very disappointed.
We saw the drone right there, right next to site as well. And Turks now realizing it might not be the best. Going for the rappel. Theezer's just taking his chances. What will it be? Will he be the first to fall, or will the elimination favor him? The sound calls are really tempting to him. I imagine it's like voices inside his head. And as much of a powerhouse as he has been up until now and throughout both of these maps, and I imagine is going to be continuing to do so, he finally realizes the position he currently stands at and will be taking steps back. But no steps ahead. That's what he truly is. Theezer there takes off framework, and oh my god, can someone stop him already?
That SMG-11 is just a demon in this guy's hands, as they've got the vert to help him as well this time around. These players below just finding so much pressure as Theezer just full sends it, gets to trades himself out because he's just the demon he is. But now this time there is an adaptation coming in from the Turks as well. This mirror window is going to provide an additional challenge that Valour Esports need to solve. They're not going to have seen this being picked, this operator being brought out, but the mirror is going to counter it beautifully as Nono and Pango find one each, and suddenly we're in a 2v2.
Valour are so good at handing out caveats. Every time the Turks find themselves in a 4v2 position, it's just draw drop to see how Valour managed to come back into a position as currently we're spotting it out. Two of the final players, Salim and Core Turner, we can definitely rely on them as they have been more than consistent through all of these rounds. But like you said, it's starting to get dicey.
And there's full utility available for the attacking side here. 2 flame bolts, 2 smokes, and 2 flashbangs available as Turner's just like, I need to swing this. I'm not going to get a cheeky kill here. But if they can use this utility to get themselves into the site, this big window cutoff could be huge. Or sorry, the karaoke window cutoff could be huge on trying to get the kit down, as no plant denial left for the side of the Turks.
Yeah. Core Turner possessed by Theezer's soul right now. He's really looking to change it up. And the second Nonomeister takes out his utility. Perfect timing for him. Does get to keep his life, which definitely will be a benefit for the later. But given the benefit of the doubt to the side of Valour Esports, they're closing in onto the site, although the cross established by these 2 final defenders is not being around the bush. It's quite flawless if I do say so myself. And the information definitely won't be as good from the side of the attacking side as they want it to be, because that's going to be 1 kill. Smoke coming in a bit too late, and Pango going to be the draw dropper right now. Is the final one right through the smoke, and well, let me tell you, these blinds and lines of sight being taken out is merely a suggestion to Salim as he gets it through and locks down a 4-2 split.
Yeah, the Fenrir mine giving away that push even through the smokes, but this is really good stuff from the Turks. They managed to stabilize the round. It was better than the previous rounds from Valour Esports, as they managed to trade the kills back and forth. In previous rounds, Valour Esports were dropping like flies. This time they kept the man count even, but unfortunately for them, they just didn't manage to use that utility in the right way. I think you've got to use those smokes before you start to push in. So Valour Esports, I think, under that low time pressure, just not being able to use that utility. They had 2 flashes as well. You can just flash into the site, make your way in. But let's talk about the bans, Puffo, coming in to start off the site switch.
Yeah, a great little crossband coming out for the Thermite and the K to get a little counteract between each other. And similar goes on to the following. Shield for shield, it's an eye for eye action. And currently, as much as Turks are not going to be loving to play shields or against them, I imagine they're not going to be refraining from using up and picking the Blackbeard as we currently spot it.
And this lineup we're seeing from the side of Valour is identical to what I saw from them yesterday. They put a framework on the Skopos. They basically let him go and roam somewhere else, do his thing, basically on his own. And that way, if he gets into a bit of a sticky spot, he can teleport back to site and just be that fifth anchor player. The Smoke Warden Jaeger Mute is a very classic lineup of operators to hold this site itself. You've got plenty of shotguns to do all the site setup, as well as just having a lot of utility to bunker down into the site. So we'll have to see how the Turks want to deal with this just heavy bunker lineup coming in from the side of Valour.
They're definitely going to be dealing with it a lot easier than they would have if, of course, Valour managed to pick up on their Clash, because we've seen what the Clash can do from the defensive first half. And going over to the second, Turks seem to be going off of a lot of information. Yet again, it's vital, it's key, and we see it on the side of Deimos, Nomad possibly, and of course, majorly the Grim, which needs to stay alive till the very execute. Also, Bodov doing a better job than he did on Lair, which I do want to point out.
Yeah, this is going to be a hardcore black take coming in from the side of the Turks. They're going to try and send Shoxel up those black stairs. They're going to have the Nomad to stop the runouts on the black balcony. This basically stopped what Thesa was doing to Valour Esports, to stop Valour Esports doing that to them. And the key condition of this to work is the pressure from below. We didn't see Valour Esports using the buck or anything like that to open up lines of sight. But this is where we need to get Salim into the right spot, to get him tearing up the floor, to get these defenders off these vertical angles, so that way Blackbeard can make his way up the staircase.
Nada's going to be indicating at the death mark there. Thesa could definitely find value off of it, but nonetheless, Shoxel there finishes the job, but right from behind him, it seems like Framework is going to put an end to the shield type of strategy, although from above, you still need to be very careful when you're approaching black stairs, because spotting a bit of damage and spotting heads is where Framework is best at. He finds Succession and yet again a second, and finding the two major players that were supposed to push up black and get themselves a fantastic position.
Yeah, Framework is doing a great job holding down this staircase, but it's just a bit of a mistiming coming out from the Turks. The Grimbees were just a second too late, so they didn't have the info, but Turner, he's going to equalize things for us as we hit the halfway point in the round.
Trying to sustain the possibility of Turks upkeeping the sort of progression of round after round going into the second half. They've already won two in a row going into the previous half, and now want to keep it up. Certainly no one's going to be escaping death, but time is going to be one of those situations as well. Flash is there, doubled up as well. Quarterner and Pango going to exchange a bit of damage. Quarterner coming out on top just by a slight bit, and even transferred on to the side of Rexys with a drop down, the vault in, and Quarterner with a triple kill. Turks have now gotten themselves the seventh, or rather the fifth round, not the seventh. Round number 7, that's going to be theirs. And the adjustments in that final end game really helped it out.
Bodov just being like, fuck it, we ball, just jumping straight in the window and just saying, I want to just claim this space as my own. As that's phenomenal work from him. They've distracted Framework, who was the only player that had a solid position to hold that jump in. Because that distraction's been made, the flashbangs come in. Framework can't hold that jump in anymore. And that's what lets Boldov be aggressive and claim the round. And Turks' synergy, that is phenomenal work from them to get themselves a 3-round buffer. As with a 3-round buffer like this, Valour Esports, they need to get a couple of rounds back to back to sort of break the momentum that the Turks have now built for themselves.
And keep in mind, this is a lot more stressful for the side of Valour Esports, because in this grand final, it's a best of 3, meaning Turks, they get themselves 2 more rounds in the following 5 that Valour need to find in flawless fashion, and it's over. It's going to be regulation victory. Turks, whatever weakling they've caught on to the side of Valour Esports, it's been working out one after another, although for Valour Esports, they definitely get caught on too quickly. Turks, yet again, they saw that they're extending over to Exhibition and off his side, so you know what? We're going to fully send it blank. Like stated, and right now, going to round number 8, Valour need to win this one.
Yeah, the key thing I want to see from Turks, if they do go for this take once again, is just try and deal with this vertical gameplay. Let's get somebody outside Geisha to potentially backstab Framework if he's playing that position again, to get him off the vert. Use the Capital fire from the window. I'm not sure how we've ended up with fire outside the window. Maybe a little bit of a miss shot coming in from Capital. No? He's still got... Oh, it's the Goyo. It was the Goyo. Gotcha. But yeah, the dealing with this vertical gameplay is the main problem that Turks had last time we just saw them attack this site. And I think the adaptation they've made is, since they've got a Capital on the window this time, to fire off that player off the vert, so that way they can push up this staircase a lot easier.
Yeah, Shoxel definitely wants to keep in mind that this verticality is still going to be open for availability to play against him, although not used in the current moment. And just like that, rushing up black stairs, that's completely converted, transitioning it possibly into side in any moment. Verticality not going to be used, no longer in play. Smokes, they're going to push the Blackbeard away from his comfort zone into a corner, which could possibly be exercised with caution if a C4 can be shucked, but I don't think the defenders want to take risks like it, as only one player on B site. This could be a really easy entry.
Yeah, this is going to be down to the Capital to see if he can flush these players out of the key engagements. They've got the Deimos below. Salim's going to find one elsewhere on the flank. And this is where he can start to cause carnage on the backstab here. All they have to do is just stay alive and be pressure as the shots come in from below. Smoke fighting his inner demons as everyone on the side of Turks trying to flush this player out.
Turks are right at the doorstep of Valour Esports as they're beating them at their own game. They went from the backside with only one player, Salim, shutting down two. The third one here for Bodov, and Valour Esports dominoes one after another. They fell. Dots are going to be connected and lined up nicely. The verticality to be contested, but the HP Nodo has. Rexy's is going to be his carry on Grace. The way the melee, but helped out from the side of these. Are backline completely secured, and this final defender to be a lap for the slaughter. Turks have secured match point. The grand final, second map as well. One more out of the following four that is required, and I mean really required from Valour. And of course Valour will be walking out empty-handed.
This is clinical from the Turks, Puffo. This is actually just clinical. This is the Turks at their finest. They are just popping off and it's just a flawless execute. Like, what are you supposed to do when Turks are bringing every single operator that is perfect for the take they want to do? Unfortunately, it's a rock, paper, scissors tactic. You bring rock, they bring paper, and every operator that the Valour Esports were bringing had the right counter from the Turks as they bring a 4-round advantage to seal this best of 3 final right here, right now.
Sealed the deal exhibition. Here is where Turks find so much easy pickings when it comes down to single player elimination, especially from players like these, or like we've called them out many more times. And as it gets to this climax, Valour Esports have to find it. I mean, they seem to be a lot more comfortable or a lot more lenient into to the other side on that top floor. But when it comes down to it, they simply have to switch, as this top floor has not been working out for them at all. And going on to the defensive in general has been quite a failure from their round count, as they've already lost 2 in a row, and facing match point, imagine the burden they have to shoulder.
Yeah, this is like do or die time now for the side of Valour Esports, and I think the Blackbeard not being banned out is going to start to haunt Valour Esports as well. They've gone for the Monty, as that's what the side of the Turks were abusing on Lair, but now Shoxel hopping onto the Blackbeard has been absolutely cooking. But I want to highlight Salim as well. He just seems to know the right time and the right moments to do his niche plays. That backstab was crazy, as Rexy's just getting punished early as well, as Caesar's going to claim that every day of the week, and it's not looking good for the side of Valour Esports.
Openings here from the side of Turks have been a magnum opus to use against Valour Esports, because serving one player's head on a silver platter is just phenomenal, but the second is even much better because a third follows. Turks with a trio, 2 more remaining. Can this duo coming on top? It's down to them. The death mark possibly being one of the most sacred rituals here when it comes down to the attacking side, because once they spot a bit of unqualified operators when it comes down to the man count, it simply becomes a game of hunting. One flyer to remain. He's being hunted down, and he no longer stands to be the hunter. Prey right below the main stairs, and the Blackbeard even shooting at him, not being able to capitalize on that headshot. The C4 earlier was missed, and even when the plant is down, nonetheless, he's not able to get the kill. 40 seconds here. Turks have already gained grasp of everything they want. The Blackbeard is up close, shielding himself just perfectly. Shoxel trying to get this 1v1. Either way, it might just be too late. I think it's too late. He does not get the kill. It's not able to shut him down. Pulls out the deagle, dropped down to the ground, and the Blackbeard is absolutely shooting him. This is bullying at its finest. I mean, what do we do? MC just back up into a corner. Turks are looking at him being bullied. Back shots after back shots, and nothing that they can do. There comes the final headshot. Shoxel delivers the coup de grace. And what are we looking at?
And the TG's right now in the chat as the Turks just decided we've had enough. We're going to call it a day. We want to claim this game right here, right now, as a dominant performance on Skyscraper is going to make the Turks your ELC Summer Cup champions as they claim the tournament. There's going to be your final scoreboard as Bodov finally getting himself on the board. A great performance from him, going 5-3 in that final map. Just a great performance overall from the Turks as Skyscraper on Valour's map pick absolutely popping off in that round.
Yeah, Turks definitely knew what they were getting themselves into when allowing Valour Esports to pick up Skyscraper. And that last round was just rubbing salt in on the wound. Yeah. I definitely didn't imagine it to be quickly over, and I thought the Valour Esports really could bring us to Consulate, but unfortunately not so. They had a really good attempt in Lair. Again, Valour Esports did a fantastic job there. Not being necessarily able to cover or transition that performance over to Skyscraper really showed it, and Turks in general showed to be a better team. They showed to have better strategy, better reading, and definitely better timing in general. Opening kills were definitely their game, and off of it, they just chained on to more kills, which allowed them to get these really frag-heavy rounds.
Yeah, it was phenomenal performance from the Turks. It really was. They were cooking on Skyscraper. They were confident in their strats, confident in their gunplay. It would have been phenomenal if we could have got an interview with one of them, but they've got another game to play, unfortunately. So that's going to be your ELC Summer Cup rounded out. But I want to just give credit to Valour as well. They put up a good fight, right? Especially on Lair.
Yeah.
It was a great back and forth between those two teams, but Skyscraper was clearly a stronghold of a map for the side of the Turks. It was all about how can the Turks respond on Valour's map pick, and they came out and made a statement.
Yeah, no, Turks are a powerhouse. That is, I have claimed that since the very beginning. Lair, unfortunate, and yet again, I want to touch upon Lair because Valour Esports could have had it as their first map. And although Skyscraper we showed where Turks truly revealed their true nature, going on to map number 2, they won it out. Again, grand finalists are yours. But Valour, still a good attempt. They still gave it the best try, and of course, I mean, none of this would have been possible without our lovely production crew in the background. Everyone observing, Baba and Maxu as well. Thank you for helping out, and Amguns. I'm glad to have joined you here on the grand finals.
It was good, man. It was a great final to be able to spectate with you. I want to give a special shout out to those who run ELC as well. So Stepmeister and Coco and all the other staff over at ELC. Thank you very much for having us. Special shout out to obviously Baba and Max as well. For making this possible in French and in English, which is great to see. So thank you guys all for joining us. I'm going to give a massive shout out to the upcoming tournaments that ELC run. If you are in the chat, you're looking to get into competitive Siege, ELC run 4 tournaments a year at a minimum, I believe. They run the winter, autumn, summer, and spring tournaments that have like 6-7 divisions, something crazy like that. So any level of Siege that you want to play, if you want to get involved in competitive Siege, ELC is a great opportunity to get involved. But thank you so much for hanging out with us, enjoying the Siege with us. But that's going to be pretty much calling it a day from us. We'll see you over. I'm going to give PBX a shout out. Hopefully ELC don't mind. There'll be another final coming up later. So we've had Combine today. You've had ELC today. There will be also PBX later. So if you want to catch more from us, we'll see you in another stream, hopefully sometime soon. So thanks for hanging out with us. See you guys next time.